Going live.
And live on the internet with technical issues.
We're home.
Brought to you by Technical Issues.
The internet.
Yay. Technical issues. That's my favorite thing to worry about, back.
Oh.
It's 2025 new Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Oh, man. You know what's the problem is? The year of 2025 is the year of Linux, and we're not running Linux.
You're not running Linux. Yeah, no. OBS runs great on Linux.
What happens?
Does it? Oh, no.
No,
no. Okay.
That's not me, because my computer's not connected to the internet. That was you, Adam.
Yeah, that's true. Also, wow, I did a video on the Legion Go S's models, and I gave a quick, just handoff to, here's the reason why you might want the Windows version versus SteamOS version, because you can actually use it like a PC. And whew, they lit me up in the comments. Well, guess what? Not everyone knows how to use Linux. I know technically you can edit videos and do all that stuff, but come on, if you don't got Microsoft app support for Office 3 or Excel, Microsoft Office support, if you don't got Adobe,
look, man,
actual support, come on.
I'm out there with Gen Alpha. I'm CapCut all the way now.
I know.
Nothing but CapCut,
baby.
For 4 more days.
So I'm sorry. It just always surprises me when the Linux people show up in the chat. It's like, oh yeah, Linux people show up in the chat.
Look, we love the Linux people here.
Hey, I've heard this is the year of the Linux.
Yeah.
You summoned them. You said the word, and you probably said it 3 times in a row.
No, I didn't. I just mentioned that Windows, you can do more in it.
The real solution. Oh man! Wow.
So that's actually even more of an incantation.
The real solution to this problem is that you should give me your laptop for like an hour. I'm going to put Linux on, and that's what you're going to use for the next 6 months. To teach you a lesson. You're going to learn to use Linux.
I'm down. Just
teach you a lesson. I thought we were supposed to make Linux sound appealing, Will, not punitive.
Look, some people it's appealing for. For Adam, punitive.
No. Hey, listen. Some people still use Adobe, and I know you can technically get around it on Linux. There's like some containerization.
Adobe on Linux.
Not officially supported.
I don't what is officially supported is Windows. I bet there's people running Adobe on Windows 7. Not officially supported.
I'm just saying, as somebody who relies on it for work every day.
No, I appreciate that stance.
Yeah. Then I need to make sure that it's working. Unlike our internet here, no, this is not Willis. Willis did not break the internet.
I wish I had that
our
power.
Internet. Yeah. Luckily, it is seems to be holding better than the hotel internet.
He goes and works for Tech Hive with 1 week. He comes back and starts sabotaging us. Thanks, Willis.
Oh,
yeah.
It's true. It's true. Well, we're back from CES. Some of us are rested. Well, some of us are back. Some of us never went. Some of us are rested. Some of us are still recovering. Brad, how you feeling, man?
Getting there.
You look better today.
Than I did last week.
Yeah, you look better.
Need to get my damn haircut still, but yeah, feeling a lot better.
I like it. You just need a mohawk. Yeah.
I would if I could, but everything you don't see is bald.
But then that's what. See, I thought about doing the 2 sides. Is the thing?
No,
it's like
come on,
Mad
listen.
Max style.
Instead of a comb over,
a full hair,
a comb up.
I have like super natural, curly natural hair. So I used to let it grow out past my shoulders, but now I just look like Gallagher if I let it grow out. So I need to hurry up and go get a shave.
Yeah, during the pandemic, when I grew my hair longer than it had ever been in my life, at one point, I saw a picture of the back of my head, and I was like, oh no, bald guy with ponytail is not a good look. We don't want this.
Hey, to each their own.
I'm not judging.
Yeah.
It's
some people,
myself.
that's what they like to rock. Anyway, we're here.
We are here.
Yeah, how are things holding up? We're already super late.
I know. But hey, we're landing at
Hamster's okay.
Hamster's okay.
Good.
It's good.
Tell them it's the year of the Linux, and they'll get excited.
It is the year of the Linux, ladies and
or
gentlemen.
they panic.
Yeah, something like that.
Will's happy about it.
Well, I thought I had internet.
Nah,
like
you don't
YouTube
get
acted like it was going to connect for a second, and then it just said you're offline. Check your connection because of the web.
Just do what Keith did and just pull a Tether hotspot.
He had a nice hotspot too.
Yeah.
It was the work hotspot, his day job hotspot.
Look,
so.
I'm the last person on a limited data plan still. I only have like 16 gigs of data a month.
What? For a family?
Yeah, it's real cheap. And we get rollover. So like I actually have a lot more, but if I use it, then it goes away. And it's a lot of stress.
I would still have limited data if I could. I switched to an unlimited one because it was a better deal for me. But I had similar 16 gigs, and we're usually at work or home or school, so it
Yeah.
lasts forever. And it
But
rolls
for a
over.
family?
Like I don't leave my house, dude.
Oh, okay.
But more than that, they don't do unlimited family plans. So like our thing is we buy the 16 gigs of data and then it's like $20 a line.
I feel like that's where you need it.
I mean,
But
probably.
they don't want to do that.
Yeah, they don't. They
Okay.
understand
That
how
makes
the
sense.
children work these
I don't
days.
have a family.
Kids are all on the TikToks.
All right. Yeah.
Now.
TikTok.
Yeah, burning down the data
Love
plan.
it. Love it. Okay. Cool. I think it looks like we're good. Willis?
They're good.
Yeah.
The preview on my studio just ended, but like everything I think is still running, so I don't know.
Yeah, you might just have to refresh.
Can I refresh without ending the stream?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, the webpage. You can just refresh.
Okay. All right. Doing that. Don't break the internet. Don't touch anything.
Don't break the internet. The 2025, the year of technical issues. We need to be brought to you by
Scared.
what's the
CrowdStrike.
Oh dear.
I saw an ad. I saw an ad for a thing this morning that I wanted to look up to see what it was. It looked like a typical Silicon Valley billboard that's like a, hey, here's some software as a service B2B business, but it's called Post Hog, which like, I was like,
No.
I'm not a branding expert. I don't think that this is a good name for your B2B software company. I think people are going to misunderstand what you're selling there. I don't know. Hey, CTO.
You know what? I think
Steve?
in the name of retaining potential sponsorships, we're not going to dive into that one. We're just going to keep
I mean,
going.
we get that post hog money. Who knows?
Yeah, I know.
Could change everything.
Okay, I'm waiting for Willis, so I'm burning a little more time over here. He's got an ad read because this is
Okay,
sponsored by
wait. If he's
Silverstone.
looking, if we're buying time for Willis,
Just for
I
a
have a
minute.
very important question for you.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Super, very important.
Oh, this is going to take longer.
Adam,
Yes.
how did you go so many decades with never having had Peking duck?
Are you trying to say I'm old? Wow.
I'm
mean, I'm old.
going to tell you, the first time I had Peking duck, I was probably close to Adam's age.
Wow.
Because it's not something
How?
we didn't like. They don't. There's not places that do that on the East Coast. Like there was
But you
no.
lived here for so long, Will.
Well, but I was close to
Same
Adam's
with
age
Adam.
when I moved here. You know, I was. The first time I had Peking duck was probably in Vegas at that place in the Wind that has the good Peking duck.
No.
When I was probably in like 2007 or
like
2008.
It's like heaven sent food, man. How do you live so long without?
I'm going to
that
go and tell you,
food?
I made up for lost time.
Okay, good.
Well,
Yeah.
Oh, I opened the gate for Adam. Hopefully, he'll have more Peking duck from in 2025.
I feel like maybe once in my life I had it. I just didn't remember. But this was the first time. I mean, Willis just kept talking it up. Like
It's
Peking
good.
duck, Peking
It
duck.
is good.
And so
It's
we
so
found a
good.
place during CES to treat ourselves. It was not at the Win. It was the Fontainebleau
Fontainebleau.
called Washing Potato.
Washing potato of all names.
Okay.
It was good, but it was the kind that you do the
No
thin
butt.
thin little wrapping.
Uh-huh.
And
Pancakes.
he tells me that they also come in bun
They
versions.
didn't have the
And
buns.
I probably would appreciate the bun version better, but the actual duck itself was good.
There's bad Peking duck though. Like I've had bad Peking, like overcooked, dry, not delicious.
This was not dry.
No,
Yeah,
no, I
this
know. I'm
was
just
good.
saying, like,
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. But when you have like at least like decent to high quality, like it lives up to hype. Like it's one of the foods where you can hype it and it actually you get that payoff when you eat it.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, I did get a recommendation for Berkeley place to go to, so I'm gonna try that one. Hopefully, get the bun version.
You like a
And-
bun better than a pancake?
Yeah, the delivery method was a little, flimsy.
I like the.
But I like the buns just even on their own.
They have the hoisin.
The buns are good on
Yeah.
their own. The
Yes.
duck is good on
Okay.
its own.
Yeah.
Everything's
Duck
good on
fat
it.
on
Yeah.
rice is fantastic.
Just little
I don't
rolls
think
of
they had
skin
rice,
with the
but,
pancakes.
The skin. Oh, yeah.
So good.
The skin was a little crispy. Anyway,
All right, before we go take off lunch.
yes,
and
I
get
know.
Peking
Yeah, hey,
duck.
and we're gonna wrap it up here because I'm hungry for
Is
some
there Peking duck
duck.
place downtown? Probably not.
Yep.
We'll find something. All right.
You ready for the ad read?
Let's do it.
All right. Willis is gonna read an ad,
I'm
and
gonna-
then
Then we're gonna go get duck.
we're going to
Great
get
show,
duck.
everybody.
Then we're gonna get out of here.
I thought you said eat the ad and then go eat,
Eat
the
ads,
Peking
yes.
duck.
Please eat the
Okay.
ad.
All right.
Here we
ready?
go.
All right. Here we go. This video is sponsored by Silverstone, the leader in PC case manufacturing. The latest Alta D1 is the pinnacle of modular and flexible workstation case design, featuring multiple modules, high-grade steel construction, and substantial airflow. The Alta D1 is ready to take on the toughest hardware challenges. If the industry look isn't your cup of tea, then give the beautiful SETA A2 a look, which supports complete backside connector. Which supports complete backside connector capability. So build your next PC inside a Silverstone case.
In this episode of The Full Nerd, we wrap up CES. That's not the line I wrote. And welcome everybody to episode 331 of The Full Nerd, the best weekly podcast about PC building news. I am your fill-in host, Adam Patrick Murray, but I am not alone. I am here with a fabulous crew of home-based people. First up is the Full Nerd co-host, Brad Charkis. Hello, Brad.
Hello, Internet. I'm not dead.
Oh, that's good. And also on the line here, we got Elena Yee. Hello, Elena.
Hi, I'm not sure where I am in time and space, but I am apparently here.
A lot of people were asking why you weren't at CES, so yeah, we're gonna have to rectify that. Also not at CES was Will Smith right here in the flesh next to me. Hello.
Ahoy hoy.
What'd you call me?
I said ahoy hoy, sir.
Okay. Well,
it's the
that's
official
just-
greeting
that's rude.
for tele. It's what Alexander Graham Bell. It's how he wanted people to answer the telephone.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's why Burns says it when he picks up the phone in Simpsons.
Well, you're a fountain of knowledge. Also a fountain of knowledge is controlling the verticals and horizontals. Willis Sly over there with a fantastic ad read, by the way.
Hello. Thank you, Adam. Hello, everyone. As you can see, we're all still recovering from CES. I'm just
I don't know what you're talking
very
about.
tired.
I'm feeling great.
You're feeling great, aren't you?
I landed on Saturday, ate some food, hung out a little bit, and then promptly laid in bed for 15 hours straight. And then got up the next day and took a nap. So
At least you got some rest.
yeah.
I went to a
Life
kid's
do be
birthday
like that.
I went to a kid's birthday party the next day, so I'm like, okay, I got a social again, you know?
Did they bounce houses?
No.
No bounce houses.
Yeah,
No.
that gets you over jet lag.
Yeah,
quick.
like you
Bounce
get a week
houses.
in Vegas and then 3 hours in the bounce house with a bunch of 3-year-olds. That fixes what ails you.
Yeah. Well, some of us were in Vegas. Some of us were on the home team. So in this episode, I just kind of wanted to go over some of the news again. I know there's nothing too new, but I really wanted to get the thoughts on the home team, and then kind of wrap up anything we saw that was CS related that necessarily wasn't PC related, because usually we focus on the PC. And then we got a lot of good questions. So I think this is the first opportunity for the past month to get to some questions. So
Cool.
Let's jump right into it, unless I need to look at my notes and make sure I missed anything. No, I didn't. So I say I'd like to go over the top three again and get the home base's opinion. So I will say
Qualcomm, AMD, and NVIDIA.
are
the top three, Adam?
Well, Intel, AMD,
Oh.
and NVIDIA for PC related news.
Okay, just making sure.
I'm sure Qualcomm had a great
They didn't
showing.
really
I
talk
have
about
no
it a whole
idea.
lot as far as I noticed.
Oh, that's harsh, Adam.
I don't know. I didn't watch it.
That's
They-
harsh.
I
They
was-
actually did. They
Especially given what
announced,
launched
they
the
announced new
show.
chips for $600
Yeah.
Snapdragon processors, and they showed off a Snapdragon Mini desktop, so it's coming to desktops.
Cool. I like it.
Appropriately priced Snapdragon processors,
Okay.
I think, is what's the top line
Okay.
there for me.
I say this because when you are on the ground at CES, you have to really juggle your schedule and make tough decisions. And none of those decisions for me involved going to any of the keynotes. So I went to 0 keynotes.
Oh.
I would say everybody probably knew more than I did by the time all these keynotes happened, in a lot of ways, because I just wasn't. I had to watch kind of recaps later. But the home team, I will say, Will and Mike Kreider did the morning
Yeah.
shift, Intel and AMD,
Yeah.
and then Will and Brad Shoemaker, other Brad,
other Brad.
yeah,
Like two Brads in
yeah.
my life now.
Brad and Will made a NVIDIA stream.
You're so lucky.
I know.
I know, yeah.
They made a podcast.
Yeah, we made a podcast. We made an NVIDIA stream. We talked about the 5090, and then we talked about other stuff during the AI bits, it turns
Yeah.
out, which was a good choice of, I think, our time.
So thank you for
course.
handling those streams. That's really nice to have the home base cover it. and obviously Brad and Elena were at the home base, and others
Nope.
were at the
Not me.
home base doing
I
writing.
can't take credit for any of the amazing work that was done on PC World
so
during the
you
event.
you just took a nap?
You could kind of say that.
Oh,
I was
okay.
in a whole different country.
Oh, really?
Brad was super generous with me this year and let me take
Oh, I didn't realize
vacation,
that.
extended vacation.
All right, well.
I
Using your
have a
vacation
lot of
ain't
gummy
super
bears.
generous. That's
right
what
now.
it's for.
All right. Well,
And a lot
Elena
of
didn't
gummy
do
bears.
anything, so I'm gonna take my
Yeah.
thanks away from you.
You should.
I'm just
I
kidding.
don't deserve it.
All right. Well, actually, I would say that's an interesting perspective as well, because not being in the middle of it and then kind of coming back and looking at the news, we got multiple different perspectives here. I'm excited to go over them and kind of see what's what. So let's start
we
with
black screened.
we black screened. Oh,
Mhm.
what
Uh-oh.
happened? Great, sweet. This is an audio only podcast. Willis breaking it.
After dark,
Yeah,
literally.
after
No,
dark.
no,
After
nope,
literally dark.
Nope.
That's kind of what we did with the.
I am not here for that.
Was
Nobody wants that.
Was it just the
We're back,
camera?
we're back, we're back.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. We're back. Hello. You're not going blind. we're just back. We're just punchy. It's after CES. Anyway, Intel did a stream.
Yeah.
Did you have a lot of fun watching the Intel stream?
Look, it was interesting. I learned a lot about
Yep.
what Intel has coming.
Yeah.
What they're excited about.
As I understand it correctly, Michelle Johnson Holthouse
Hold house.
did the most of the presentation.
She was like the
correct?
MC.
She was
Yeah.
the MC. Great. And yeah, because a lot of people were wondering who was going to take the stage.
I mean, I can talk about. I'm going to pull up my notes from
you've
that
got
press
you've got
conference.
notes.
Yeah, I took notes.
Okay.
You know, I'm a professional.
There was a couple things I wanted to talk about, but
Go ahead. Yeah, no, hit it.
Obviously, we knew that they were going to have Arrow Lake HX laptop parts discussed. How much of their presentation was around?
Like 3 minutes, maybe
Okay.
4.
That's
It was
what
a
I
45-minute press conference. They got a 45-minute slot.
That's what I expected.
They talked about Arrow Lake HX a fair amount. The main thing is, the 200 HX is 24 cores, 5.5 gigahertz, 13 tops because it's a Meteor Lake NPU or variant of the Meteor Lake NPU, it seems like, and a buttload of PCI Express lanes, 48 PCI Express lanes, which is a lot, I think, in the modern context.
And these are for big fat gaming and content creation laptops.
Yeah, well,
Usually
and mobile
paired-
workstations probably.
Yeah,
too, is the
and
other
usually paired with a discrete GPU.
usually paired with a discrete GPU or alternately an external GPU, and I think the 48 lanes gives you that option, so you can swap back and forth. They talked a little bit. They showed a couple of actual AI applications that looked interesting.
AI, I heard they put it in the PC.
Yeah, look.
Stupid joke.
I'm going to go and say the thing that struck me as an overall about all of the keynotes is how little people talked about Copilot Plus compared to Computex.
I've got a button right here.
Well,
where
I think.
yeah.
Brad's got
Go
thoughts.
ahead. Go ahead. I'm not trying to derail you. Sorry.
No. I just at Computex, AMD, Intel, Qualcomm were all Copilot Plus this, Copilot Plus that, Copilot Plus this. Intel, they said Copilot twice, I think, during the whole thing. We didn't even keep a count. The chat kept a running AI count of how many times AI was said in the thing. Because somebody was like, hey, we should do the AI drinking game. And I was like, that sounds like a good way to get your stomach pumped after about 15 minutes. And luckily, nobody, I think, had to have their stomach pumped. But yeah, so that was it. It was like Arrow Lake HX, a bunch of AI stuff, a little bit about just a mention of Battle Mage, and a drop of the B70. I think she meant the B570. My guess is the internal shorthand is B70. And that was pretty much it. They said they shipped 1.5 million units in 2024 of Arrow Lake, or Lunar Lake and Arrow Lake. And little tiny drop at the end that they're still on track for 18A shipping second half of 2025, and she held up another 18A Panther Lake chip. So that was it.
Okay.
It was a fast 45 minutes.
To go back to your point about Copilot, the thing that I found interesting, I think I mentioned this in the chat of maybe the AMD stream later, was that those new Arrow Lake gaming laptops don't even have a Copilot Plus capable NPU.
Yeah.
Because they're based off of Arrow Lake, not Lunar Lake. So, how excited can people get for Copilot Plus when this year's, presumably most of the flagship gaming laptops aren't going to even possibly support the features?
Even though,
despite having discrete graphics.
yeah, I know, yeah, that's what I was about to say. Despite having a discrete GPU that has plenty of AI tops to be talked about, so
well, but it's to me the shift was at Computex. Copilot Plus was being presented as the next Centrino, a thing that people are going to go out and buy laptops for, and now 1.5 million units shipped is the cold hard light of day, and people don't care. Or people just buy laptops just like they always do. It's not actually driving a huge uplift in sales. So
I mean, but isn't that just indicative of AI in general? Like, I think it's something that's just been pushed across the board, not necessarily something that has some kind of killer application that people decide that they have to have it. So now they're going to get it in their hardware. They're going to be seeking it out in software. They're going to be, looking for it in, helping whatever products they're using. I think it's like, I think we talked about this in a previous show, that it's going to be one of those things that filters in and it's going to enhance what you're doing, but behind the scenes more so than being something that you actively are seeking out. And I kind of wonder if this is the year where, even though we've talked about so much about AI, that we see companies kind of back off on it as a marketing point, but it's still going to be there. I don't think we're going to get rid of it. I don't think it's going to be like, we were talking about 3D screens before the show started. I don't think it's going to be like that. I don't think it's going to be like VR where it actually fades out. I think it's just going to not be talked about, but it's still going to be prevalent.
Yeah, interesting. Well, for the actual Arrow Lake HX parts themselves, we did see a lot of laptops on the show floor. Unfortunately, there was plenty of other stuff to cover, and we didn't end up covering any of the laptops. Brad, anything from the home base covered that we want to point out that we're excited for?
Yeah, there were a ton of laptops, actually. A lot of them are pretty cool. We actually, rather than getting into any of them, I think I will just say, in addition to our main Best of CES roundup, Matt Smith, who freelances for us and is one of the smartest nerds I know, did a roundup of the best monitors he saw, as well as the best laptops he saw, with really good reasons why. So if you go to PCWorld, best laptops of CES 2025, you'll find a lot of cool stuff in there.
Yeah, I actually got to meet him in the flesh for the first time, so that was nice.
I think the Arrow Lakes. I'm interested to see what those Arrow Lake HX benchmarks look like in the battery life. I wonder if they're going to continue to shoot the gap and have the nice performance to battery life balance that Lunar Lake did in the Ryzen AI Qualcomm Elite 10 whatever.
Yeah, I wish they'd shown more performance data in their presentation and in their embargo, because to me, especially after how Arrow Lake was received on the desktop, and talking to journalists at CES, they actually made a point of saying hey, we're working on Windows updates and BIOS updates to fix Arrow Lake performance on the desktop. They told Mark that doesn't affect laptop whatsoever, but with that legacy now coming out on the laptop, I just would have loved a little bit more clarity there.
Well, and it's interesting, they didn't talk about, hey, by the way, our Arrow Lake numbers were a little off at all.
Of course. I mean, they're not going to get up on the CES stage.
I mean,
and
they did get journalists. The journalists who stayed for some of the extended briefings after did get a whole thing about that from Rob Alec.
Yeah. But they're not going to get on stage on a keynote and talk about that.
I mean,
this is for normies. These kind of keynotes are for normies.
Hey, our numbers are 20% better. Is wave that flag. You should be proud of that.
Yeah. I forgot the point I was going to make. Oh, I was going to say, I would say Arrow Lake HX is mostly meant for desktop replacement laptops, which I think of battery efficiency is less of a concern. So I don't imagine that's going to be a huge selling point.
This is going to surprise you, but they did say it was 40% more efficient than the Raptor Lake laptops. So.
Okay, but also you got a discrete GPU in there with
I know.
I saw one power brick that was literally 400 watt power brick. I was like, oh boy,
laptop for normal people.
Now you get an hour and a half of battery life instead of an hour.
Yeah,
exactly.
I will say, I took one of those briefings last December, and I actually had sent a photo of the 400 watt power brick to Gordon, and I was like, have you ever seen a 400 watt power brick? And he was like, oh no. I was like, yeah, these things are going to be sucking down the juice. Nom, 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 nom.
Yeah. MSI Titan put out a dragon themed version of their Titan 18X.
That was cool. Very limited edition.
Looking. It looks like a Skyrim laptop.
Yeah. In person, it was definitely real pretty.
It looks shiny.
Yeah, very shiny. MSI had a lot of laptops for sure, and actually there was one I wanted to point out. One of my favorite video editing laptops was the MSI Creator series, and they had a redesigned chassis for it. I was going to do a video on it. We just ran out of time. So many things, and yeah, I really do like that redesign. That was a cool laptop. So a lot of cool laptops. Anything else for Intel? Anything that we saw? Home-based team was excited. No,
I think they definitely have the big three. They definitely came with the least amount of stuff, so I think this is, pretty good for Intel. Excited to see these new gaming laptops and how they handle.
The big surprise for me is that after everything was said and done, the B580 looks like a real winner at low end GPU prices for the foreseeable future. Like until AMD announces something like that's gonna at $250 to $300 depending which SKU you buy. That thing seems like a banger still. So if you bought that in December thinking you might return it by the end of the holiday return window, you're probably good.
I imagine.
Yeah, those.
Go ahead.
Those come out Friday, I think.
Well, that's the 570, yeah. But the 580, they probably wanted to release it before the end of 2024 to say that, hey, it came out in 2024. But if they would have released it during CES, I think it would have been a pretty big splash, for sure. So, yeah, sure, you got NVIDIA over there doing stuff, but check this out, boom. Yeah. There were a couple other Intel things to wrap up. I know Mark has a awesome write-up over on PCWorld about Thunderbolt 5, and that was something we talked about a lot, that Thunderbolt 5 was nary a mention at CES, which I was very surprised. I thought this might be one of the times they're going to push it heavily. Did they talk about Thunderbolt 5 on the stage at all?
What's Thunderbolt, Adam? I didn't hear anything about Thunderbolt at all. I didn't hear anything about USB 4 either, for what it's worth. So,
really?
Yeah,
okay.
no.
Well,
I don't think people care about this is for normies, not the kind of weirdos that buy docking adapters for their computers.
Well, but the docks, that's for weirdos like me. That's for sure. But Mark was writing it up for docks because he covers Thunderbolt docks for us, and he was very excited. And it was not, Thunderbolt 5 did not make the splash.
That's actually a super cool story. Like, people should it's on PCWorld's homepage today. Go read it. Like, he talked to all the display manufacturers, and they're basically all saying, hey man, Thunderbolt 4 is fast enough, and Intel just hasn't integrated Thunderbolt 5 into their chipset yet. So all these laptops didn't have any Thunderbolt 5 in it whatsoever. They haven't integrated Thunderbolt 4. So between these dock makers saying, hey, we need Thunderbolt 5 really for 8K, and that's not really a thing today, and the fact that Intel itself is not integrating Thunderbolt 5 into the chipset, you can buy it, but it adds cost and expense. I think we saw a 6K monitor that supported Thunderbolt 5. I think we saw that Asus GPU dock, maybe one other more portable SSD, and that's about it.
It seems like there was a lot of hey, here's stuff for infrastructure that doesn't exist yet. Like we saw a bunch of new specs come out or be announced at least that are in that line, and I think that aligns.
So
which is great. That's what CES is for, because this is again right after the holidays. So anything that gets announced now, you're probably not going to see now. This is kind of setting the table for what's coming the rest of this year and in the future. So I love all this forward-looking spec stuff.
It just, I think it was last CES that Thunderbolt 5 took the wraps off, right?
I think so.
Yeah, or maybe even before that. It just, Thunderbolt 5 had just been seemingly waiting in the wings.
I think they showed it at the Tech Day that they did in October, November before last CES.
Okay.
Yeah, it just seems like a thing that until resolutions regularly are going beyond 4K, there's not a huge amount of need for, right?
Well, but also throughput on external SSDs, USB 4 is pretty fast too, so I don't know. Anyway. All right, let's move over to AMD, because AMD came so hot and heavy with announcements that they didn't talk about something during the keynote, and people were upset. People were up in arms.
Man, before we dive into this, people listening to this podcast know that I had COVID last week. That's why I didn't go to CES. I still worked laying in my bed on my laptop writing stuff up for CES because I still had work to do. The two things that I wrote for AMD for their keynote on embargo are the two things they cut out. And I was sitting there with the fever just like, man.
Well, it's good you were there with the information, because people were probably like, wait, where's the information? Right? Yeah. So those two things being Radeon 9000 series, and what's the other one? Strix Point?
And the Zen 2.
Oh, Zen 2
series.
Yeah.
Oh, Z2. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, the Radeon stuff, I had an interview and I sit down chat with Frank Azor on a video. Mark had also talked to them a couple days prior for a write-up, talking about a lot about interesting stuff. TLDR, they felt like Radeon could have held its own for an announcement, so they're going to have information later rather than at CES, so that's why they kind of cut it out, because 45 minutes is kind of a short time for a keynote. A lot of people, I saw some pushback in the comments, people being like, well, they could have cut out some of the other AI stuff or B2B stuff, and it's like, well, listen, like that B2B stuff might not be for you, but it is CES, it is AMD as a whole ecosystem, so they definitely wanted to touch on those things. So yeah, well, I mean, it's a hard dance, right? You got 45 minutes, you got all this stuff to talk about. What can get cut? They were like, you know what, we can cut this out because this can stand alone later.
And every time they say AI, their stock price goes up. So they're not going to cut out any of that, right? Yeah. Like that's got to stay. Frank Azor had a banger quote in that interview.
Oh, like, in Mark's interview,
the all-time.
Oh yeah.
Like seriously.
Yeah.
Can I read it?
Please.
He said,
please set up the context.
Okay, so I think Mark asked him about 9800X3D availability because it came out. It kind of became the performance king immediately
for
gaming. And you haven't been able to buy them. Like they've been out of stock pretty much everywhere.
I think it's still, right?
I mean, you could buy them in bundles and stuff occasionally, but they come and go really fast. And Frank Azor said, put it this way. We knew we built a great part. We didn't know the competitor had such a horrible one. So the demand has been a little bit higher than we had originally forecasted. I'm just
most hilarious thing I've ever heard.
Drop the mic, walk away.
Like, I was just like, when I saw that quote, like I'm on vacation. I'm like kind of keeping up in the chatter though in Slack, just because I don't want to be completely like having to catch up when I get back. And I see that, and I was just like, where was his handler? How did he get to say that?
He's not wrong. He's not wrong.
But
he's not wrong. But you know, is that such a rare thing to hear?
Crazy.
Right?
Well, but here's the thing. They have a long history of like getting a 1 or 2 generation lead and then blowing it somehow, right? Like they've done this. They did this with the 1 gigahertz Athlon 20 years ago. They did it with the Phenoms. They've like over and over again. They've gotten the lead and they've not like doubled down and taken advantage of that performance gap. And Frank's here and he's like, man, I'm just gonna say how it is. I love this.
And I will say, Scott Herkelman, who used to kind of be in the front-facing GPU division in the past, he definitely liked those kind of quotes too. Like he definitely like was like, listen, we're the underdog here. Let's punch up.
Yeah.
So
the AMD tradition.
Yeah.
But that was a really good one.
Good quote. And hey, I mean, it is a good part. And yes, Arrow Lake does have some teething pains, and hopefully we'll be retesting that soon.
That Q&A that came from, Mark actually like transcribed the whole thing and put it up as an article. A lot of the people watching the show may have already seen it, but if not, you can go see word for word every question that was asked, every word that was uttered in response. So go check that out. But it feels like the reason they started doing these little small press Q&As, I know they did our session. I know they did at least one other just based off other press coverage, was to kind of explain why RDNA 4 and FSR 4 wasn't available in the keynote, or it's not shown off in the keynote, explaining the whole, we only got 45 minutes, all this, all that. But I think, personally, I like what Keith suggested in your CES full nerd from last week, where I wish they would have just teased it in some way. Like a few years ago, before Ryzen 7 and Radeon 7 came out, like, again, it was a little bit too early, but here on the show, we had said, hey, man, at least just show like a sizzle reel, and then at the end say, running on Ryzen 9, 9950X 3D and Radeon 9070. And they actually wound up doing that. And to me, that just 20 seconds at the end of the keynote would have alleviated a lot of these concerns. You could have said, hey, here's a sizzle reel.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about this in much greater detail in 2 or 3 weeks.
Or I feel like it was the 5800X3D before that came out. Lisa had showed on stage just a real quick, hey, we're not talking about anything yet, but we got something brewing in the back, and here's a 10-second clip of it running in real time. Something like that, just a little tease. I get it, but yeah, so good interview with Frank on video, good interview with Frank on the written side. Good job, Mark, killing it, and we tag teamed him, as it were. Mark also has a video interview with Donnie Walgrowski on the AMD or on the CPU side. That hasn't been posted yet. It will be posted in the next couple days. I would have also asked him, oh, hey, guess what? No, his prediction last year was right. No new AM4 CPUs were launched here at CES. So that is true. And also, listen.
Yeah.
I am a nerd when it comes to handhelds.
Are you?
You know,
Wait,
when it comes to handhelds, just give me, just gobble up all the handhelds. Give me. You know, I will say even I understand why they cut talking about Z2 from the.
It's confusing.
It's confusing, but also it not that it would have been able to stand alone on its own terms. In like Radeon would, that would be like a big event that they could have. But I feel like they had enough handhelds there that information was going to get trickled down anyway. Like the Legion Go, there was a lot of coverage on the Legion Go anyway. Yeah, I think there could have been more explaining to be done for sure, but I can understand why they cut that one out. That doesn't surprise me.
Look, I did a video about this because it was confusing.
You did. It was a great video from Home Team. Thank you.
But also, it's like they had two sets of data for the Ryzen Z2 on different places on AMD.com. One place it says there's 4 cores and 8 threads, and one place it says there's 8 cores and 16 threads. They both are still there as far as I can tell. So, yeah, like it's all over the place. It's really confusing because unlike most processor launches where everything is the same, like it's going to be Zen 4 cores and RDNA 3 GPU cores, or Zen 5 cores and RDNA 3.5 GPU. No, the Extreme is one combination. The Z2 Vanilla, the middle one, is a different combination, and the Z2 Go is basically a souped up Steam Deck, yet a third combination. So like it makes sense from like market fit, but like if they had to stand up and explain this on the stage, it would have eaten 20 minutes.
Yeah, it would have taken a little time. I'll also say more confusing actually was going to Lenovo's booth looking at the Legion Go S models, and they offer a Z2 Go variant and a Z1 Extreme variant, which is the same as the Z2 essentially. Weird. And that was like, there was definitely comments and being like, wait, so is the Z1 Extreme the better version or the Z2? Because it's a second, you know, it's a bigger number.
But
better,
they ship
right?
different. Well, the Z1 Extreme is basically a Z2 Vanilla, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I asked them why they did that, and it sounded like an inventory thing. They still have plenty of Z1 Extremes, so they decided to go with that.
Well, that makes sense.
And it's something that's already available and widely understood. But I do think there is some confusion out there to be like, hey, the Z2 has a bigger number, but it's actually less performant than the Z1 Extreme.
Well, and one of those also...
Z2 Go, I'm sorry, has a bigger number, but it is the least powerful option.
The Z2 Go one also ships in both Windows and Steam flavors too, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of confusion on this one. The reporting was a little different. What they told me was that for both the SteamOS version and the Windows version, same exact configurations. You get an entry-level Z2 Go with 512 gig and 16 gig of RAM, and then you step up to a Z1 Extreme with 1 terabyte and 32 gigs of RAM. So both of them are the same exact configuration. The only difference is the price. So the SteamOS version is $100 cheaper on both SKUs.
There's other reporting out there that said that the Windows version was 32 gigs of RAM and double the SSD. So I think people conflated the Z2 Extreme or Z1 Extreme with the Z2 Go, and it's very confusing.
So as far as I know, there's 2 versions of the Legion Go S. One Z2 Go, one Z2 Extreme, and the Z2 Extreme is the better performant one.
And the only thing that changes on the Steam versus Windows is the color of the plastic.
Yeah. Oh man, it was Nebula Violet. I think that was the official name. It looks like black, but then you're like, oh, okay. I guess it's kind of violet.
Get it out in the sun.
And I asked them why they didn't just go black. I asked a Lenovo rep, and he said, we worked with our third party. Worked with our third party team to, or not third party team. Worked with Valve, and they had. I can't remember the exact quote. It was a very nice way of saying it sounded like it was a Valve thing. That
Valve wouldn't let them ship a black one?
Or a white one.
Oh.
Yeah. Because I asked, I was like, well, what if somebody wanted the SteamOS version but in white? And yeah.
Well, funny you put it that way. So did they Did you do a blind test? Did you sniff it and be like, oh, this is the SteamOS running, this is the Windows running?
I did. Yeah, you're gonna have to watch the end of that video that I just posted.
That's an excellent question, Willis.
And they actually did smell a little different, but I mean, they're also not final review units. I will say the other problem though is that the SteamOS version of the Legion Go S isn't coming out till a couple months at least. They told me like Q2, where the Windows version is going to be out by the end of the month. So.
I mean, Valve said they're going to release a version of SteamOS that runs on multiple handhelds. So, my guess is that there's underpinning work happening there to make all this go.
Yeah, it was interesting because Lenovo was the first partner to announce this, right? Hey, we have a handheld that features you can go on the store shelves and buy a SteamOS version or a Windows version. But it sounds like SteamOS might come out before even that handheld, like an open version. I don't know. I didn't press the questions on that. I did have a nice interview with Pierre Lou. Yes, from Valve. It was nice. Lawrence Yang was also there. I talked to him. Also, I was there at the same time that Sean Hollister from The Verge was interviewing, and he was definitely asking the tough questions for sure for his piece. So a lot of good information. For sure. Anyway, Z2 stuff. I want to get into Strix Point because that one was interesting. That was definitely
Strix Halo.
Strix Halo. I'm sorry. Strix Halo is like kind of a new product category. This is like you can't
weird.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's weird. Also, in my interview with Frank, he made it sound like it's not really designed for like handhelds, which a lot of our handheld nerd friends were excited for Strix Halo, and he's like, yeah, well, that's a pretty high wattage. I can't imagine you're going to see many handhelds with that one.
Like, are they just beefy APUs? Is that what we're looking at? It's like a real graphics under the core, under the same die?
Brad, do you want to break it down, Strix Halo?
It kind of seems like it. They didn't go into technical details that I saw in any of the coverage. But it's basically the first chip of its kind to have a big, beefy NPU, which Copilot Plus PCs, whatever. This kind of thing definitely needs an NPU. 50 tops, highest in the market. It has some crazy amount of graphics cores. The high-end part has 40 Radeon graphics cores, which is insane. That's like more than double what you would get before.
Yeah, you could see the actual chip shot. Right, and sometimes you can kind of see the layout and where the GPU and the NPU sat took up a huge share of the actual die. So it was just like, hey, you know what? Yeah, we got some compute in here for a CPU, but really this is like hardcore GPU
AI
and NPU.
AI and graphics powerhouse, Mark called it in his thing. And the really interesting point about it is that it supports up to 128 gigabytes of unified memory. So in that case, it is kind of like a beefed up APU because APUs also, of course, use system memory.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's a massive amount of memory that's unified across the system, and you can allocate 96 gigabytes of it to the graphics. And it has pretty good memory bandwidth on par with like the desktop Radeon 7600. So AMD says this thing just chews through LLM stuff, AI stuff. Like this thing's just like ridiculous. I love it in the best of CES, I kind of compared it to when Threadripper came out. Like, hey, man, this is crazy. I'm not sure how many people use it, but let's just throw all the shit that we can at it, and it's going to be awesome. We'll see what happens.
Here's something new that only AMD can do, right? Like, that's the thing.
Well, and I really do feel like it's gonna be perfect in this kind of situation. I'm holding up my 16-inch Samsung, whatever it is. This has Lunar Lake, which is great. The last laptop I was using was the Ryzen AI 300, but that one has a boatload of CPU cores. I would have gladly swapped the CPU cores for this Strix Halo part. Like, I think thin and light, yes, you can do a lot of work, but also, yes, it'll game. Like, it was super cool. And then they had a mini PC, the HP Z2 something.
Yeah,
I can't remember the name of it.
There's a Z, there's an A.
And that thing was good looking too.
That 3 liter bucket computer.
Bucket. I don't know.
Oh, there was they had I think they called it like a portable workstation. It was the
HP
I didn't write the model number down, but it's a 3 liter Strix Halo like workstation computer that you could then plug an external GPU in if you needed.
This thing. I wouldn't call it a bucket. A bucket is.
I mean, it's like a big. It's not like a Mac Mini size. It's like
actually it was pretty close to Mac Mini. It wasn't as big as these pictures.
It's like a thick Mini.
Yeah. It depends on the configuration, but that was
3 liters is not that big, Will.
Look, all I know is what a 2-liter bottle is, and another half of that. Right.
I still wouldn't classify that as a bucket. I don't know where you got the bucket.
I know
word.
liters are volume. I know volume with liquids. Look,
wow. Just fat shaming the mini PCs here.
Look, I love them. Nobody at this table loves a mini PC like I do. I'm going to go ahead and tell you.
You know, okay, I will say, I know we're still talking about this specifically, but one of the things I wanted to kind of like slip in here about observations about CES from like my removed perspective was I loved how much love mini PCs seem to be getting. It's like super quiet, but like there was multiple, and like we have chips like this that make it more of a viable form factor. And I'm very excited to see where this goes.
I've lived this dream for 15 years now, right? And I saw when the first Mac Mini rolled out, I was like, oh, this is a computer. This is like but it's small. And then the Nux came out, and it was like it's just been Charlie Brown and the football and Lucy for the last 15 years for me, because I'm like, this is going to be the year we're all going to just be hanging our computers on the back of the monitors, and it hasn't happened yet. So maybe this time is it.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing was performant. I'm sure it's going to be costly too, though. I feel like Strix Halo, like with a lot of power comes a lot of price too, but
also this is the thing Mike Kreider and I talked about, because it's all on one CPU die, the GPU is living under that same die. It makes like mechanically those laptops can be more simple and thinner and lighter than they have been before, because you're dealing with one cooling solution, which means instead of having an enormous cooling solution for your internal GPU or your discrete GPU and an extra cooling solution for the CPU, you can just have one cooling solution, and then that leaves more room for battery and other stuff. So these might actually be usable laptops and not things that have a 400-watt power brick that you can only use when they're plugged in.
Secondary weapon.
Yeah, and there were people like friend of the show Carrie, the Fox, has some hands-on with the Asus Flow something X13.
ROG Z13 Flow tablet.
Thank you. Yes, it was a gaming tablet. That was the other form factor they showed it in. So really cool stuff. Very exciting. On the mini PC front, I actually did a video on Asus's new Nooks, which it was a sponsored video. Because they felt like not enough people were going to be covering it, so they asked to feature that in the video. But all opinions were my own. They didn't tell me what to say. I covered them, and surprisingly, that video actually performed better than I expected. Because I was like, oh, Nux, like how many people are going to be interested? There's still an interest. People love mini PCs, and yes, there are a lot of people in the chat like, oh, build your own. You can get more performance. Yes, you're right. But guess what? Some people just want to pay for a small little package that's performant, and Asus continues with the Nook line. But also they said something that I kind of talk about in the video, but I don't think I really hit home, is that after they bought the Nook division from Intel, they've been very heads down. Asus has been very heads down in figuring how that lines up with their offerings. But they've been making mini PCs for years and years, and now they finally had the ability to take some of those learnings of the Nook stuff and bring them into non-Nook mini PCs. So one of the ones I featured in the video was a Think Center.
The Think Centers are very big in the home.
Yeah. It was the AMD version. I mean, it looked similar, and they actually were talking about the design ID that. They were trying to get feedback. Hey, is this confusing if the non-Nook ones look the same as the Nook ones? Stuff like that. So yeah, mini PCs are a thing. I know it's not the bigger bar better, but it is pretty cool.
In some ways it is still like min-maxing, right? Because like you have this, like you have a set limitation. And I know we've had discussions on the podcast before about, how much better the world could be when you have no limitations. And I respect that perspective. I respect the whole, like, as you said, bigger bar better, like unrestrained American muscle car vibe. But I think there's something really fun about what you can do when you do have a limitation. And in this case, it's space constraints. Like, how powerful can you make that?
Well, and power too. Like, people in chat were talking about the cost of electricity in Europe now and how that's going to impact 5090 demand in Europe. And like, we live in California, where, I don't know about you, my power is like, I don't know, it's double the rate at peak times that it is at non-peak times. And when I'm thinking about home lab, like I love having a computer that's running all the time with my home lab crap on it, but also I don't want to have a $40 extra tack on to my power bill every month because I'm running a giant computer. And those little mini PCs are great for that kind of stuff. So anyway.
Yeah, well, And Vincent says, oh, well, what about laptops? Well, sometimes you don't want a laptop.
What if you want a laptop with a huge monitor attached to it? Yeah.
Also, one of the newer one, the AI 15 Pro, I think is what it's called, that they had, the Asus Nook AI 15 Pro, I think is the name of it, could be headless, which would be good for you.
That's
right?
fantastic.
Yeah. So, there's different, I feel like it's, that mini PCs are so varied, and you don't realize how many around there. It's kind of like Linux, you know. There's a lot of it out there around there, but you're not necessarily
always
seeing.
Linux today?
I know. I'm sorry. Well, but they were talking like
2025 is your Linux.
It is. You know.
Sorry.
They're talking about digital signage. Obviously, is a lot of them are powered by mini PCs. So there's a lot of mini PCs out there.
We actually, our Australian editor Dom, I forget the gentleman's name that we talked to, but the VP in charge of Nooks at Asus. He just had a chat with him like over the weekend, earlier this week.
Oh, cool.
So on the website soon, we're going to have a interview piece with him based on what they're trying to do with the Nook line. So stay tuned for that this week if you're interested in industry thoughts.
Yeah, cool stuff. Okay, APUs, GPUs, CPUs. So, I mean,
this is
to the surprise of nobody, X3D parts in both 16 and 12 configuration. Thank you. Numbers are escaping me.
It was two 6-core CCDs and two 8-core CCDs, which they're actually clocked the same this go round. Which is I think they were the last time the 12-core part was a little bit slower. The big question we have is I have is what's the perf like on the X3D? Like it's the same split. X3 Vcache on one core, not on the other. The non-Vcache core is a little bit faster. The Vcache core is better for games. Windows has to know how to do the core parking business when you're doing games, so you don't get game stuff running on the non-Vcache side. Blah blah blah. They build it as the best, as like the best CPU
for gaming and content
creation. Which they have not done. Like previously in the past, they've been like, this is a little bit of a compromise. I don't know. Whatever.
I will say,
this is exciting.
And last year for the 7950 X3D, we got a lot of flack because both Gordon and I were like, "Hey, this is awesome because you have your cake and eat it too. It's the best of both worlds." A lot of people didn't really dig it. Well, give me Vcache on both cores or both CCDs. In AMD says it is not beneficial enough for that cost. So
I agree 100% there. I can totally see them.
Yeah. So I mean, but also, anyway, but this one doesn't have necessarily that same limitation, right? Yeah, you get the second gen Vcache on the underside. You can clock that CCD higher, get more power out of it. So yes, I can imagine, and kind of like the 9800 X3D versus the 9700X, usually the trade-off is, okay, well, do you want 8 cores with higher clocks so that you can get more work done in productivity, or do you want the 3D Vcache version with lower clocks that's actually better for gaming, but the pricing was always weird, so you kind of had to pick between the two. Same thing for the Ryzen 7000 series. The 7950X still performed better in content creation than the 7950 X3D because one of those CCDs was clock lower. So you still had to be a trade-off of like, are you pure work and no gaming? Then the non-X3D part is probably the one you want. But if you're a mix, then you probably want the other one, but you are sacrificing a little bit on work. Theoretically, we haven't tested these obviously, but theoretically the 9950 X3D takes that away and says, hey, you know what? It is going to be on par with content creation. Yeah, but in gaming, it'll pull ahead. So my guess is that the price is definitely going to be higher. No final pricing. We don't know. But that pricing higher than the 7950X non-3D makes sense then because you're paying for a premium, but you're also getting more out of it. So
yeah,
it's
I
exciting.
agree with all that. Yeah, but especially with that second gen Vcache, because the second gen Vcache totally eliminated pretty much the compromises that was the issue with the first two gens. So if they tack an extra $50 onto this, it would totally make sense to me.
So cool stuff. I mean, more to come. Who knows when it'll come out, what it'll cost, and what the performance is going to be like. But hopefully, we will be there to test. I'm excited about that. What else from AMD? I feel like I'm missing something else because they had
Matt Booty came out and talked about how important Microsoft AMD is as a games partner.
Did they shake
Microsoft.
hands? Like,
no,
yeah.
he's a video. He was a
Oh, he was a video. He's like,
Yeah.
to you, Matt.
But it was interesting because like I've seen
who's Matt Booty, by the way?
He's a executive for Microsoft on the game side.
Yes.
That was it pretty much. They talked a little bit about FSR4. They kind of teased it just a smidge.
Yeah, and there was a demo at their booth. Yeah.
And from what they did say about Radeon 4 and RDNA 4, it's clear that AMD is finally investing in dedicated AI hardware.
Yeah.
I know some of the existing Radeon stuff has some degree of that in there, but it's not really the same thing that you'll find in NVIDIA and Intel cards. So I think AMD hasn't revealed much, but it's going to be a significant change, and I can understand why they wanted to delay showing it.
Well,
this is a big difference for them.
Yeah, it's going to put them with the Battle Mage stuff having dedicated AI for their upscale sampling. It's going to put them with parity on NVIDIA and Intel, which is good.
Well, and I do really feel like we are at the spot where AMD has always been traditionally, hey, you know what? We're going to really prioritize raster and all these AI features and upscaling and tensor cores and stuff. It's not for us. If you want raster, AMD is a home for you. Now even AMD is to the point where, you know what, AI is the future. It's definitely a thing that you need to consider, and they're going to have dedicated hardware for it. It feels like. So
yeah.
I dig it. You finally got connected to the internet. Congratulations.
I just used my hotspot.
Oh, hotspot. Okay, there you go. That's how you do it. You get around it.
I looked up for people who were curious about the power usage in California. My last bill at the peak time of use, we're a time of use, so like it's more from like 3 p.m. until 10 p.m. at night than it is the other times a day, and it's 64 cents per kilowatt hour delivered to the house, which is high.
Okay, well, so times that by a GPU that could pull up to 575 watts.
Yeah, so that means every 2 hours you run that, it costs you 64 cents.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. That's the price you pay to get a new 5090 in your rig.
Excellence comes at a bigger bar better, Adam.
Bigger power bill better.
That
Come on.
home lab needs to run at like 2 watts so that I can get this GPU just cranking out here.
Yeah, so unless there's anything else with AMD, let's move on to NVIDIA. NVIDIA, surprise, surprise, launched the 50 series here at CES with 4 desktop GPUs. We got the 5090, 5080, 5070 Ti, 5070. 5070 Ti does not have a Founders Edition. It'll be AIB only, kind of like the 40 series was. But they do have the rest of them in a Founders Edition design. And oh boy,
double blower.
I'm excited to hear the home base team. Brad, I'm going to go to you first. Brad, tell me, what do you think about the Founders Edition design of these new cards?
That looks absolutely amazing. You can tell that they don't have to pay for GPU and memory costs the same way that their add-in board partners do, because there's no way an add-in board partner could create something that wild and custom, like with the tri-level PCBs and stuff they have in the Founders Edition. I mean, that thing looks cool. I can't wait to touch it. I can't wait to hear it. I'm really curious to see how loud that thing is, because that's my one concern thinking about that. How hot will it run? I have a feeling NVIDIA's engineers did a good job with that. How loud will it get? Because 2 slots for 575 watts of power is insane. I expect that GPU to run much, much lower than 575 watts most of the time, however.
Brad, ask me how loud the GPU gets, because I heard it. I was there in person.
How loud is the 5090 Founders Edition, Adam?
I can't talk about it right now. Just kidding. No, it was, we're
on a show floor. You're not able to hear anything.
I know,
what are you
exactly.
talking about, man?
Yeah, we were in a very crowded...
You heard the show floor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We were in a very crowded demo room. I did try to put my ear to it to see if there was any high-pitched whining or something like that. You can't tell. I mean, it's one of those things where it's just like, okay, I hear something, but relatively quiet compared to the rest of the room. Yeah, so I heard it, but I have no official official feelings on it.
That thing looks like a beast, though. Like the GPU itself looks insane.
I also did touch it. I did touch it
Okay.
under full load.
Did you sniff it?
Was it warm?
See, I did not sniff it. I told
Oh,
Keith.
so that's a special thing you reserve only for your handhelds. I see.
Well, listen, this is how it played out.
Look.
We saw an Origin system running a demo. The door was open, and I was like, Keith, turn on your Osmo Pocket 3. I'm going to go touch the GPU for the first time. And I did, and people were crowding around doing other stuff, so I didn't want to bug them too much. But yeah, somebody was like, oh, you should have sniffed it. I was like, that would have required me to like get on the floor and get my face right up next to it, which I wouldn't have been against, but it wasn't the quite right time and place to do that. So yeah, no, I did not.
It takes a very specific vibe to get down on all fours and start sniffing the insides of PCs.
Just think. Then you'll look at you'll be looking at everybody else's coverage. You'll be like, oh, hey, it's The Verge. There's my nose in the shot.
Yeah. Do I want to be known as the sniffing guy?
No, you don't want
everything?
this. Look, you don't want to be known as this guy. This is a bad thing.
Well, somebody had told me that I
We're
need to
doing
start
intervention now.
Yeah, somebody
live
told
on
me I
air.
need a whole new series on TikTok
of
of
CES.
just smelling hardware.
Just.
And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. I should probably
Yeah,
consult
don't
my
be that.
doctor.
I don't know
before
if you want
do
that to be your brand, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look,
Like,
you
do
could.
you want
Hey, it would be good content,
for
but yeah.
posterity?
Someone on the Verge is reporting, and then you see Adam in the back just on all fours,
Like-
just sniffing it. I'm like,
Just right up against the exhaust vent from a big giant PC.
Yeah.
Just goes like this.
Ian Ketchers did it with biting wafers.
Yeah,
Could be
I
setting a
know.
new trend, Adam.
Yeah, I know. Well, I got to one up Ian, so you're right. Dang it. Okay, well. Anyway.
I just love this blow through board design. Like they're doing wild stuff, and the fact that we've moved beyond the NVIDIA of hey, it sounds louder, so that means it's faster is good. These new cooler, quieter, like fix the stuff that they did from the 2080 to 3080 and 3080 to 4080 with noise and cooling is really exciting. So I'm stoked to see.
I did a video on this with Paul from Paul's Hardware, probably post later this week, so I don't want to spoil it too much, but remember all the memes after the 4090 came out? All the memes of like, what's the 5090 going to be like, holding up huge, massive things, or air conditioner on the side of the house, all that.
Somebody had a fish tank CPU,
right? And it's gonna cost $2,500. We'll get to that. We'll get to the pricing. And then all of a sudden, Jensen comes out and he's like, "Oh, by the way, this is a 5090. It is literally true 2-slot card. Bam." He's like, "I saw all your memes. Check this out."
It's a 2-slot card?
It is true 2-slot
insane.
card.
Wow.
It is a true 2-slot card. That was Jensen coming up and being like,
I can vertical mount again. I'm so excited.
yeah, I was like, wow.
Extreme.
Okay.
If you want one of those, whenever the launch date is, endlessly recycle that page.
These
Go
things
get in
Trash
line
man.
at Best Buy the day early.
These
I
are
have a
hard to
feeling
get.
there are
Day
not going to be
early.
many of those made.
I will say the running
Skip
theory.
childcare. Get in line.
The running theory around a lot of people talking on the show floor, because then at the other end you go to these partner booths and something like the Asus ROG Astral series, which is their new top of the line of the 50 series, was huge, very very big, had 4 fans, very pretty, probably going to be very expensive, but also like a lot of people were like, well, look, NVIDIA was able to do it in 2-slot, but all these AIB partners are having huge cards. The running theory right now is that maybe NVIDIA is doing this to kind of show off, but also to leave more headroom. We don't know. We don't have a official word on thermals or how loud it is, anything like that. But there might be finally a reason to be like, hey, you know what? If I'm going to buy a 5090 and I want that 2-slot experience, there's going to be some trade-offs. Cool. It's pretty design. There might be, I'm theorizing here. There might be some trade-offs to get that design. Or if you want to go all out, get the highest clocks, get the max performance, get the best cooling, then you will want to go something with a thicker design. So it was a running theory that a lot of people had at the show, and we're kind of theorizing. So
I mean, the nice thing about GPU perf is, like, the other thing you can do is lock your frame rates for games so that you can change it on a per game basis, and it kind of just works itself out. you lock your game to 60 hertz, it's gonna the fans won't even turn on a 4090. So
yeah, well, I would like to say, Cots Tots. This is just theorizing. I don't know about clock speeds and feeds, all that kind of stuff. All the videos that I did was looking at GPUs was like, how much is it going to cost? I don't know. What's the performance going to be like? I don't know. What's the cooling?
You want to hear
like?
my semi-conspiracy theory?
Yeah, always.
Brad, please.
So I know Adam is looking forward to gloating about the price here. $19.99.
Well,
I definitely got that wrong. He definitely got that right. However,
you want to get to it now?
I would not be surprised if the 5090 Founders Edition is in short supply and does, to some degree, thermal throttle those other things.
But it's got liquid metal cooling, Brad. It's got 2 vapor chambers.
Oh yeah, and it's gonna be amazing. Like a 2-slot card, being able to handle that in any way, it's an incredible feat of engineering. Watching Adam's video just drives that home.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, I would not be surprised if the bigger models give you that additional headroom. It has the more traditional reference board inside of it, the big, huge honking coolers. And if it does leave headroom in there, that will give vendors a reason to actually put those big honking coolers on there and charge the $2,500 that I thought is actually going to be. That's what we saw happen during the 30 series. They came out with low prices. In reality, MSRPs were hundreds higher, and I think that's likely what we're going to see here.
Yeah, and I remember Keith and I were going around to appointment to appointment being like, man, so many of these are small form factor ready. That is really weird that they're leaning into it. Now it makes sense because, like it definitely was a big thing that I think NVIDIA wanted to address, to say, okay, we get it. Cases are getting bigger. And now actually I feel like case manufacturers are in the back being like, oh no, we made all of our mini ITX cases to be large enough to fit all these huge cards, and now NVIDIA is coming back and being like, no, you know what, 2-slot, that's fine.
Well,
You know what
No
though?
other card is going to do that. Like,
yeah.
I know. Yeah.
to me, they have to be able to do that because they can just throw away that R&D cost. They don't care if they make their money back to have that in the 2-slot card, and they don't have to pay for the GPU, that prime package, the GPU and the memory. So, like, they have more flexibility to do stuff like that.
The thing is, though, they're not going to sell the Founders Edition's not going to be a low performant variant of that card. Like we'll see people overclock them, but they're not going to thermal throttle. Like, they're not going to chip that card in any way that's not going to give them bigger bar better, because like they want those numbers to be as big as possible when the reviews.
I have thoughts about numbers and bars.
Let's talk about those bars. Those are bad bars.
Yeah, those. I don't know. They were
bad bars.
I saw a lot of green bars, a lot of bars that said a lot of people are talking about 5070 at 4090 level performance. So I actually have heard a lot of like normies like, hey, listen, okay, this is mean. I just called them normies, but I was listening to the Giant Bombcast, our friends over at Giant Bomb.
Oh, you're gonna call people out?
I'm gonna call some people out, and within that group, they seem to kind of accept that narrative of like, ooh, a 4070 is gonna be at 4090 performance. And I just want to be like, I want to call somebody up and be like, so I do feel like a lot of that narrative is slipping into the mainstream.
Just as an aside, that to me is the genius of NVIDIA's move here. Like, we're about to discuss what we think of these bars, but NVIDIA positioning the 5090 as a 4090 beater, even though we know that's really not going to be the case in most things. Yeah, 5070 as a 4090 beater. There's nothing AMD could say that could counter that. Like, if they came out and said, we have a 9070 for $500 and it'll be the speed of a 4080 Super, everyone will say, yeah, but the 5070 is the speed of a 4090, so why would I want that? So it's just like, NVIDIA is so good at counter marketing.
Well, and I assume that there was a leaky ship there, and when AMD was looking at what they're cutting from their press conference when they had 45 minutes, they're like, hey, it would behoove us to wait and see what's coming, because if they heard either they're doing a full stack of GPUs or they're saying the low end parts are going to be faster than a 4090, like that could destroy an entire cycle for AMD if they don't handle it right. So
also, Skeet Sayer says lying openly. So it's not lying openly. They only went on stage and talked about one slice of it. I am sure there are situations where the 5070 performs like a 4090. Like Gordon, if Gordon were here, I'm sure he'd like to point out that I'm sure NVIDIA went to their lawyers and said, "Hey, can we say this?" And the lawyers gave a check off.
So their charts had games with no DLSS, games with only DLSS 3 support, and games with DLSS 4 support. And the bars, my guess is that we're going to see what showed on those charts, which was games with no DLSS are going to see 20 to 30-ish%, but based on my ruler in Photoshop measuring. Games with DLSS 3 seeing 40 to 50%, and games with DLSS 4 showing 100% improvement. And I guarantee you that those numbers will line up in some configuration, interestingly enough, on a 9800X3D for games and on a 14900K for productivity, with what they showed at that press conference, because that they had the forward-looking statements disclaimer. They have SEC stuff that they have to worry about, and they're not going to lie on a stage in a way that's going to get them in trouble with the stock people.
They just led with the most impressive thing.
They're going to. It's kind of like a headline, right? When you read the news too, right, where they're going to extract the most like scintillating part of it, and you have to dig into the details to actually understand the context of it.
Yeah,
because it's not always exactly how the headline sounds. I mean, sometimes it is, but often in these cases it's not, right? So there's probably going to be something where like maybe DLSS is involved, right, and other things where, as Adam put it, friends of ours who are not as tuned in to these kind of details will take it at face value, where they think they're getting like to like comparison, and not that it's like stuff layered on to compare it against like the quote unquote, like not quote unquote, but like so-called like raw performance of the other thing, right?
And we're not saying it's right. We're not saying that's the right move. I would have loved for them to actually come up and provide more info.
We're explaining the context to why we wouldn't call it a lie.
Yeah. Also,
it's not.
What? Yeah, it's not.
It's not a lie.
Yeah, it's not a lie. It just doesn't give the whole context.
They're presenting their product as in the best possible light, which is what. Hey, man.
Hey, marketing.
Capitalism's working.
DLSS 4 increases the AI generated frames from 1 every other image to 4. Right? There's
one real 3 frames. Yeah,
and then 3 AI frames. So that alone will account for a huge performance uplift. Even though I'd argue it's not actually lifting performance so much as increasing visual smoothness. But
also, if you go over to their main 50 series page on the NVIDIA website, they do have one game listed that does not have DLSS, but it's specifically with RT. So Far Cry 6, the numbers, we already know that it's probably going to have more tensor cores. It's going to have, a better throughput on that stuff. So that's not even a pure raster number either.
That also... there's a new generation of ray tracing cores in there as well. So that is not as straightforward a comparison as it seems.
Yeah.
So I just also want to just touch back on this real quick to say, like, I think in general, when you hear statements like that, you should, instead of hearing it as you get the same thing as this other product, I would always contextualize it as we are telling you that you are capable of achieving the same number output at similar maybe graphical settings as this other product, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the way that we got there is the same.
Well, so I and just to be clear, I'm really incredibly curious about what the new frame generation looks like, because they were pitching 2 things, right? One is that we can generate 3 AI frames off of 1 rendered frame, and 2, they've reduced the latency per frame 75% with the new reflex changes that come.
And they moved to the new transformer model.
Yeah, and like, so my complaint with the generated frames isn't fidelity or quality or any of that stuff. It's literally that they felt laggy and slow when I was using a mouse and keyboard, which gives me 1-to-1 movement. I don't have a lot of problem with the generated frames when I'm playing on a gamepad where the movement, where there's a abstraction layer and acceleration on the stick movement. So if they got the generated frame performance down to the point that you don't feel it on a mouse and keyboard in the same way, so it feels floaty, like, I say let's go. Yeah, like I'm here to see the generated frames. And the only way I don't know if you got to actually see any of these cards running, Adam, but I have questions for you if you did, and if you can talk about it.
Yeah, they did have some demos that we can talk about publicly, including DLSS, one specifically around Reflex 2. I did get to play a game. It was a game that's not out yet. It's like on a container ship.
Was it the Delta Force thing?
I can't remember. I don't remember. Anyway, it had DLSS 4 on. I played it.
Gamepad, mouse and keyboard.
Mouse and keyboard.
Okay.
It actually felt pretty good, but once again, I'm not the best.
You're not sensitive.
I'm not the best person to this. In that room talking to engineers, people are I'm just like, wow, you know way more than I do. So you know what I did? You know what I did? Because I was the stupidest person in the room. I saw the smartest people in the room, Digital Foundry, and I just followed them around. And when I went to each demo, I didn't even look at the demo. I looked at their faces.
Oh, that's a good strategy.
Yeah. No, I was like,
actually a really smart move. So
Yeah.
you can't call yourself stupid, dude.
street smarts.
Smooth brain, I think is what this one's called.
There
right?
you go. Yeah. So I went to I went to specifically the Reflex 2 demo, and man, it was Oliver and Alex.
Yeah.
Friend of the show who's been on. We talked about coming on again as well, and I just watched their reaction, and they asked all these questions to the person running the demo, who was obviously an engineer, knew what he was talking about. Real, it looked like real questions. Once again went over my head, but looking at their reactions, they were floored by Reflex 2.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, okay, cool. If they're excited about it, then I got to be excited about it.
People love ray tracing and DLSS, but for me, Reflex is the thing I'm excited about and always have been. I love reducing latency.
Which it is the technology behind Reflex 2 is interesting for sure, and it's they're trying to solve that problem of how it feels. But yeah, once again, I watched them, their eyes light up, and they were sitting there, like the DF guys were literally sitting there right at the front of the screen, just like this close with a mouse, just like for probably 20 minutes straight, just shaking the mouse, just looking at different parts of the screen, shaking the mouse. And you could hit a key press that cycled between Reflex off, Reflex 1, and Reflex 2. So they were just like sitting there with their face pressed up against, just hitting the key. Hitting the key, hitting the key, hitting the key, and then just sitting, just like talking amongst each other, Oliver and Alex, and yeah, it was fun. So I got to experience it through them, really, and they seem to be very impressed.
Well, and like a 75% reduction in latency is going from like a 25 millisecond frame gen for the last gen of this down to 5 or 6 milliseconds, which is that's where you're well below the perception threshold for most people. And if they actually do that and it feels right and it fills in good and there's not weird artifacts, like, dude, let's go. That sounds great. Path trace everything, baby.
To me, NVIDIA's keynote, a big takeaway from it is all these various AI tricks and temporal tricks and stuff like that really is the future.
Yeah, the neural rendering, the mega textures, all this kind of stuff. I know, but once again, I saw the Digital Foundry guys like light up looking at that big dragon mega texture thing, and they were just like, and I was like, okay, I don't know. Oh, a wire mesh. Ooh, cool. But to me, it looked like, okay, cool, it's a video game. But they were just.
I agree with Let's Not Get Crazy, but we already ran a piece the end of last year saying like, hey, these AI graphics are, hurting traditional rendering. And now between everything we see in NVIDIA's booth, between what Intel showed off with XE2, and now that we know AMD is going to be embracing them, I really think to push beyond 4K, AI is going to be a big deal.
Well, okay, but also there was a fair amount of smoke in there too. Their AI face rendering stuff. When you actually looked at the response from people who actually are like character artists and stuff like that in real games, the response to that was I don't know, derisive is probably the right way to say it, the polite way to say it. The texture compression stuff is one of those places that is kind of an up in the air one for me, because they talked about using AI to either generate or upscale textures on the fly, which if you're looking at low memory configurations where your memory bandwidth limited on like say an 8 gig card, which doesn't exist in this modern era. But if you're looking at trying to run with lower frame buffer sizes, that's potentially an interesting thing. People were kind of up like when my non-scientific poll of people complaining about NVIDIA keynotes on Blue Sky, there wasn't a lot of talk about that. The face thing got a huge negative response, and the ACE stuff, the character generation stuff, was like openly mocked by people who work in that space on the moment to moment. As you know, I don't know. We have yet to see anybody make a game with that looks compelling.
I agree with all of that. I was speaking more about the DLSS 4 frame gen transformer model.
Well,
So,
they
they
presented the DLSS. They presented some of that stuff in with the DLSS 4 AI generated features in a way that was confusing to people who work in this space but don't pay attention to graphics stuff, which I thought was weird.
I was trying the AI shot challenge. I actually was trying that for the first like 5 minutes because it was 9:30 at night when that started.
Yeah.
I lasted 3 minutes and I'm like, nope, I'm out of here.
I think NVIDIA ended up over 110 mentions of AI in the 90-ish minute keynote.
Speaking of AI, to me, the interesting part about these cards, obviously DLSS 4 is going to be a huge part of their story over their lifetimes. NVIDIA is already saying you can, swap out DLSS right in the drivers. They're going to have DLSS 4 already in 75 games. That's great. But what about the games that don't support DLSS, right? And we ran a story on Friday called Do NVIDIA's GeForce RTX 50 series specs live up to the hype? Very straightforward enough. Between the head of hardware testing at PCWorld, our cousins in Germany, I helped a bit on the translation, and we actually dug into the specs to kind of see what we can kind of expect from traditional raster performance. Because we know that the 50 series is built on a tweaked but the same underlying version of the TSMC process as the 40 series. And we already know shader counts and stuff like that. So that lets us kind of look ahead and predict performance for traditional rasterization.
Because it's math, right? It's a
math.
fill rate of memory and number of processing cores.
Yeah, CUDA cores is the big deal. All of it's a big deal, but CUDA cores is what we're looking at here. It's not 100% perfect because there are architectural changes every generation, so that can change things. But we went right through all of these, and to me, the 5090 looks like a beast. On top of the DLSS 4 stuff, it has roughly 33% more CUDA cores than the 4090. So I would say at a minimum, I would expect around a 30% performance uplift over the 4090, which is absolutely insane. But things get a little bit less appealing as you go down the stack, actually. If you look at the 5080, I'm glad that it was only $100 and not $1,200. Because that was... Yeah.
I wish it was $100. Imagine it was $100
right?
5080. You heard it here.
People would lose their minds.
Yeah. But that thing still has the same 16 gigabytes, 256-bit bus, but it only has about 10% more shaders than the 4080 does. So you would expect this to get about 10%, a little bit higher than that with architectural changes, more performance than the 4080. But I would be utterly flabbergasted if the 5080 matches 4090 performance, which in traditional raster, which is going to be a huge bummer because, you would hope the next Series 80s chip would be able to beat the previous one right above it. But I think there is 0% chance that the 5080 beats a 4090 because it has 10,752 shaders, whereas the 4090, last gen's 4090, had over 16,000. So even with architectural changes, I just don't think the 5080 will beat the 4090, which is weird.
And a TGP up from 320 to 360, so 40 extra watts.
Yeah. So a little extra wattage is good. It can help push clocks. It can push performance, but I don't think it'll make that huge of a difference.
To me, the jump from 5080 to 5090 or 5080 to 4090, they absolutely don't want that $1,000 card to cannibalize their AI workstation crowd, which is why it has why the memory is lower, only 16 gigs, and why the CUDA core count is low compared to the 4090 even. And so I think I think the only way we're going to see that generation over generation uplift is when you add in the asterisk features like DLSS 4 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which means the 4080 or the 4090 is now going to be the second fastest card in the world for consumers.
Which is wild. Which to me is wild. The 5080 is not going to beat it. The 5070 Ti, on the other hand, we went through, looks pretty good. It has about 17% more shader units. So, that'd be a solid uplift, even if it's just that. But the 5070, I'm glad it's $50 cheaper than last gen's was, because the 5070 has pretty much the same configuration as the 4070 does, but it only has 4% more CUDA cores. So 4070 to 5070, there's only 4% more CUDA cores. So just looking at those numbers off the bat, I would expect the performance difference to be pretty minuscule outside of DLSS 4 and ray trace games. Those are my predictions for this generation.
And encoder improvements and
cards.
And just to be clear, the DLSS 4 stuff, the only thing that we're aware of right now, at least, that doesn't work on older generation cards, 4 series cards specifically, I guess 3 series cards has a different set of requirements. But on 4 series cards, everything works except for the multi-frame AI generation. So you'll still get 1 frame generated per cycle, but you won't get the 3 frames generated per cycle. I don't know. I feel like, to me, it looks like the 5070 is a real sweet spot this go round, and to me, it's interesting that there's no Founders Edition of that part. I wonder if that's the
5070 does have
TI.
The TI. Oh.
The 5070 Ti is the sweet spot, and I wonder if there's no Founders Edition because that's Nvidia's. Hey, AIB partners, we're gonna give you this good one because this is the high volume, high margin part. And we're not gonna compete with you in this one small SKU world. Anyway, I don't know. I'm stoked to see these cards. I want to see.
Yeah, me too.
I want to see.
I'm really DLSS 4. I'm really intrigued by. I can't wait to start testing it. I think it could be a difference maker.
I think if you look at it, frame gen what came out with the 4 series, I guess feels like old technology at this point.
Exclusive the 4 series,
because 4 series is 2 years old, but it's lived in the realm of interesting, and I only turn it on a really specific subset of games, stuff that has high impact ray tracing, and that I'm playing single player only, and I don't care about perf, and I'm it's such a niche feature, and if they can move it out of that niche feature realm, then that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Also, once again, Intel at half the price with the B580.
Yeah.
Compared to the 5070, so I'll be curious to see.
Well, the
how
memory
that stacks up.
The memory configs on these make me really curious what the resolution breakdowns are. Whether we're looking at it looked like they were. I think the benchmarks that they showed were 4K for the 5080 and 5090, and I think the 5070 Ti and 5070 were both 1440p benchmark charts. But
looking at their bus width, I think those are 1440p cards again.
Yeah. But also it looks like look, they could have used the same chart on all 4 of those cards with just different footers on them, because their relative bars, it's 1x was last gen and 2x is current gen. So
bigger bar better.
They're the most bullshotty screenshots.
The most bars.
Yeah, I don't know. I hate I've hated relative bar. Nvidia's been doing relative bar screen benchmark charts for 20 years now. Some things never change. Whatever. The bar's bigger. I don't
never
care.
Change.
Let's see some real numbers.
War never changes. Yeah. So, and then of course also how it compares to Radeon 9000. We don't know.
We're not going to know.
We will see.
It's a few weeks. I wish AMD had given us a date. I wish they'd said, hey, we're going to show something at the end of January. We're going to,
There's nothing confirmed that it's a few weeks away, by the way. We've said that a few times.
Oh.
That's just what the scuttlebutt says right now. Very soon is what I believe AMD said.
Yeah. We will see. Also, just side note, NVIDIA did show off their little computational AI box. What was the name of that?
Digits.
Digits. Yeah, I did get to see one in person. It was under glass, so I didn't get to touch
it.
Couldn't
or smell it.
smell it.
That's your thing.
Oh no.
Wait, is this an intervention or a set of encouragement?
Yeah, I know, right? What are you doing?
We got to egg him on.
It looked cool physically. I don't know the actual performance stuff, but physically the box itself looked really cool.
I mean, so the DGX is a Pascal/Volta. The thing that he was comparing it, that Jensen was comparing it to, is a Volta/Pascal, depending on which generation you bought. Like AI, like computational AI box that you could buy and shove in a rack in your lab someplace, and then make computers tell lies more effectively and faster. And this does that, but in a Mac Mini type size thing. I thought it was funny when they stacked two of them on top of each other. That was how you double that computation.
It's like mini PC Oops All AI edition.
I think that thing's super cool. I think that thing's right up there. It's kind of the same idea as AMD's Ryzen AI Max, like a super cool little box, really designed for AI stuff. Honestly,
yeah.
But not for gaming. They didn't really push it as like a gaming thing, right?
No,
I don't think you run a desktop. Like most people who buy those aren't going to run a desktop OS on it. They're going to put Linux on it, and you're going to remote into it.
Oh, the year of Linux, thanks to digits.
Year of Linux.
I knew it.
Continues.
Yep.
You're just baiting me now.
But I'm really intrigued by that chip. They're partnering with MediaTek to put that out. And there's a lot of rumors flying around, especially right now, about NVIDIA getting into making its own computer chips, ARM-based chips, for Windows PCs this year, now that the long-alleged Qualcomm exclusivity agreement is allegedly done. We're already seeing rumors saying we might see an NVIDIA N chip, an N1 chip, and someone did some data mining through, I believe it was Lenovo's product stuff, and they already have a secret chip with an N in front of it. So
secret.
Who knows? But MediaTek and NVIDIA partnering up for Windows PC chips looks a lot more likely when they're putting out, systems like this already.
I mean, NVIDIA's been shipping ARM chips for a while. I mean, for a long time now, including like all of the Blackwell data center machines have a bunch of little ARM processors in there that are basically like traffic cops as a gross oversimplification. So it's not super surprising.
Yeah. So that was Monday. That was a lot of stuff on Monday. Yeah,
it was a kind of long day, Brad.
it was a long day. Long day for sure. Well, okay, let's move over to what else was at the show that maybe we missed, because there was a lot of coverage. We got a lot of videos up. We got a lot of articles up. PCWorld.com, the PCWorld YouTube channel. Go check out a lot of cool stuff.
I'm gonna pat y'all's back for a second. Nobody here cares, but I'm gonna be a happy manager and tout this anyway, because you guys kicked ass last week. Like, we are up to almost 100 articles. Oh, sorry, I'm just cussing left and right. Sorry, I'm just
He's hopped up on goofballs, folks. Sorry.
There goes the Disney sponsorship.
We have close to 100 articles up already on our CES page, between our stuff and Tech Hive stuff, which is like smart home streaming stuff that we now do. And Adam was saying we have like 63 videos and shorts between what's up and what's coming. So that's like 150. Like, there is so much stuff. Go to our CES page if you missed any of it. We have roundups covering the stuff you missed. Like, go check it out, man. Y'all did a lot of hard work.
A lot of stuff. Well, and I feel like we covered a lot, but man, that, like, I was like, oh no, we only did one video about laptops. It was the ThinkPad that missed the nub. And usually we try to cover a lot of laptop stuff, and I was like, wow, there was just so much to cover that we did not.
Yeah, me not being there hurt.
Stuff.
I feel like me not being there hurt.
Yeah,
just the scale. The scale of that show is pretty ridiculous.
And NVIDIA definitely demanded a lot of that attention. That was kind of the biggest thing for sure. But there was a lot of cool stuff. A lot of stuff that slipped through the cracks for sure. Like Liquid R, friend of the show, says the salt spoon. Willis, did you see this salt spoon? I know you talked about it.
Yeah, I saw it at Unveiled. I did not get a chance to see it because there was just
what is this?
Have you heard about this? You haven't heard about this?
What's a salt spoon?
I'm gonna look it up now.
Okay, I don't remember the name of the product. Do you remember the name of the product?
So it's made by Kirin, the beer maker. Japanese beer maker.
Kirin.
Yeah, Kirin.
Okay.
Yeah, the beer maker. And so it was basically an electric spoon that is supposed to how do you say, like, trick your tongue into, like,
it's electroshock therapy.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
For your
supposed to give
tongue.
you a little bit more like kind of trick your brain into having a little bit more sodium into your soup.
Yeah,
or
the
something
goal
like that,
the goal is for people who can't eat as much salt. I think I can definitely benefit from that. So hey, the spoon is supposed to introduce the taste of salt by electrocution.
Zapping your tongue?
Zapping your tongue,
Like a 9-volt battery. You ever put your tongue on a 9-volt battery?
I'll give you a 9-volt battery if you do it right now.
I'll do it, yeah. Wait,
No,
you never
no,
did
don't
it?
No, I'm
encourage
not
it.
going to do that.
You've never put your tongue on a
I'm
9-volt
not-
battery?
I don't put my tongue on electronics. It's
Okay,
a
hold on,
rule
hold
that
on.
I live my life by.
Even as a kid, you're throwing stuff around here now. Now you're pissed. Even as a kid, Elena, 9-volt batteries, tongue?
Why?
No.
No, Brad?
Oh, I definitely have.
Oh,
Yeah,
see,
of
there
course
we go.
I knew Brad was going to
High
be
five, Brad.
this.
No,
Willis?
no, of course not.
Come on, put your. It's a
Look,
fun
do you ever
feeling.
put a
Middle
screwdriver?
school?
Do you ever put a screwdriver across the two
Screwdriver
prongs on a plug?
Not the
See
same
what
thing.
happens?
Not the same thing. Not the same thing.
I was already worried about Adam, sniffing handhelds, taking
Eating
candy off the
4K.
floor, USB. Now I
I
have to
feel
watch
like-
you licking
I
batteries.
feel like we
CES.
should have
No, that's how you
we
test
should
it.
have Alex do a montage of Willis just taking care of Adam in the background at events where you just see basically like Willis running after Adam like he's a toddler.
Hey,
It's like, stop running
Yeah.
so fast.
back in my day, you didn't know if a 9-volt was good or not, so you just put your tongue across it.
I
If
had
it
a
didn't,
battery
if it
tester,
did
man.
nothing, maybe back in your day you had a battery tester. Back in my day, we didn't have these.
Not all of us were rich
Yeah, I know,
boys.
right? Yeah, rich boys here with
Look.
battery testers. We had the built-in battery tester. Bleh.
Look, after I peed on the electric fence when I was about 4 years old, I was real careful about electricity from that point.
Not the same thing.
So
I'm
the
going to
same
tell you,
thing.
that was a shocking experience.
Yes,
It was
yes.
bad.
Not the same thing. Not the same thing.
So
How did we get
Hey,
here?
here we go.
So, Adam-
Poll. I'm sorry, real quick. Willis,
you
when you
ever-
get a chance, poll. Did you lick a 9-volt
Oh,
battery
dear.
ever in your life?
So real
Yes
quick.
or no?
Or pee on an electric
No,
fence.
no.
apparently.
That's we don't want to know that. one.
So what I,
I
want
didn't
to
know
know
it was an electric fence, to be clear, when I peed on it.
So
I
what
was-
I want, yeah. So what I want to know, Adam, is did it give
Yes.
you enough sodium when you taste lick the 9-volt battery?
I know
No.
the 9-volt battery wasn't meant for that.
Sensation
The
of
spoon
sodium.
is meant for that. Supposedly, I did not try the spoon. I did not see the spoon, but I saw a lot of people talking about that spoon. So that's where we got to here. Brad Charkers, I'm going to ask you first. Anything
Yes.
that you feel like we covered that slipped through the cracks, or anything that slipped through the cracks that we didn't even cover? What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think we haven't talked about it on this show, or you guys didn't really talk about it too much on your other CES show from the floor. So I just want to bring it up.
Please.
This was an awesome year for monitor tech. Matt Smith, who I mentioned earlier, did, like I said, a roundup of the 10 most interesting monitors that he saw. He is a monitor expert. He does all our reviews. We have way more in-depth monitor reviews than a lot of places. So I really trust his opinion on this. And he was like foaming at the mouth over all the cool stuff. There was a ton of awesome like world's firsts announced there. Like there we're finally seeing 4K 27-inch OLED displays with high refresh rates. How high? 240 hertz.
244, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so
Thank you for the poll. That's a good one.
that's great. We saw a LG panel with a 6K display and Thunderbolt 5, which we didn't see in much else. So the Apple Pro XR, whatever they call it, display finally has a competitor that has Thunderbolt and also 6K. Asus, on the other hand, usually those 6K monitors cost $2,000 plus. Asus put out a new Pro Art monitor with awesome specs, well calibrated right out of the box because it's a Pro Art thing for only $1,100.
Ooh.
So that's like a huge advance if you're interested in that. But for me personally, I could get into all of these, but for me personally, the most exciting monitor tech was the new LG panel. There's a couple of different monitors that embrace this technology, but LG makes the panel. You can see in the LG Ultra Gear, 45GX99A.
Oh,
Their
yeah, yeah.
names.
Yeah, of course. The 99A.
So this is one of my favorite monitors I've ever touched is the Corsair Xeneon Flex, the one a couple years ago, the big huge 45 inch one. Yeah, you could pull it into place. The big problem with it was that OLED monitors at the time, the ultra wides topped out at 3440 by 1440. So standard, which is fine on a normal size monitor, but it was a little bit, the pixel density wasn't great on a big 45-inch bendable display. These new monitors from LG, they go all the way up to 5120 by 2160. So it's like a 4K plus ultra wide monitor. And I'm really excited to see it. Just looking at the picture that Matt sent along, I'm like, ooh, the picture alone is making me drool. So a lot of cool stuff going on in the high-end monitor space. I know a lot of people aren't interested in $1,000 plus, $700 plus monitors, but to me, that's really interesting, and there's a lot of cool stuff going on there, and I'm super pumped to see that.
Brad, sorry, Adam.
Well, I was going to say, and to be fair, we did see a lot of them. We just a lot of that stuff goes over my head too, so we didn't cover it in video form or anything like that.
That's why I asked Matt to write it up for us.
Yeah, no, good stuff.
Do you feel like there's like? It seems like for the last little bit, we've been in a place where you either choose a content creation monitor that does like good color calibration and all that stuff, or you choose a gaming monitor that has high refresh rates. Did you see some content creation monitors that are going to do like a 244 hertz panel on an OLED ProArt is compelling to me, right? Because that's going to give me good perf on games, but also something I can use for video and code, stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the refresh rate on that is right off the bat.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that ProArt one goes up to 240.
But MSI, I'm not sure if this was before we went on or beforehand. Someone was asking, I think maybe Elena was asked about mini LED monitors. And MSI
micro LED was there too.
MSI released one, 4K resolution, 160 hertz refresh rates, 1152 dimming zones, display VISA 1000, like looks like a baller bomb micro LED, mini LED monitor.
Yeah, I want that micro LED though. The mini LED, that's fine. That's just a backlight though. I want each pixel to be its own LED.
Which micro LED was there for only TV, so
only TV is this. Yeah, I mean, it seemed like the stuff they were showing. It seems like we're in the hey, here's a ridiculous thing you can buy if you're really wealthy and like want to put a Kevin Smith TV in your bedroom.
CES?
But then,
do you remember the transparent TV from last year that like came up out of the ground and like unfolded?
But typically, like if you look back to OLED and plasma and all that stuff, we're in the era now where like they're actually selling things, not just showing one-offs on the floor, and that means the ramp to being able to afford it is like starting.
Also, starting last year. Once again, I am no monitor expert, but starting last year and again this year, because I did ask some vendors questions about this, is OLED going to continue to be the future, or is mini LED, micro LED going to be the future? And all of them seem to indicate that OLED is a dead end. Or like for the actual specifications of it, you're trying to get more out of it. And people are trying to do things around it to help burn in and all that kind of stuff. But no matter what, that technology is a dead end. And that LED technology is the future. But right now, the other problem is that OLED is so good and so exciting that they were like, hey, people are just buying stuff on the OLED name, even though technically the mini LED options are better.
It's like that 4K toothpaste I get.
Or like, do you remember, what was it, 4K glasses, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like OLED has a name value on it that is just can't be shaken right now. OLED is like a buying factor in a lot of consumers' minds.
Wait, in fairness, we had this talk before, and then you guys told me stop squeezing the toothpaste out of the toothpaste.
Yeah, you can't put it in. You can try.
I bet I could.
We should try it. Yeah,
I guarantee.
Gordon would want us to try it.
We could engineer it.
They get a big pile of toothpaste.
I held the line.
Thank you. Please.
And one of the things was before the show is that I haven't really been keeping up with new monitor technologies. And I wasn't sure if micro LED was it mini LED where it wasn't a true black. And so I had my reservations about these alternative technologies because everyone kept saying they're better than OLED. But for me, I actually can tell if something is a true black or not, like the technology, when I see it, and it bothers me. So while y'all were talking, I finally looked this up, and it sounds like mini LED does have the ability to turn off the individual pixels that you do get a true black.
Mini LED is the backlit still with the zones. Micro LED
micro. Sorry,
is
micro. Sorry, I hit the wrong
pixels,
word. Thank you. So the micro is more promising. So to me, I don't think it's a bad thing that people have gravitated towards the OLED concept, because they understand this means this experience that I am looking for. I think it's just a thing where manufacturers have to get creative about how they morph that marketing technology or marketing terminology, right? They're probably going to have to do some weird hijinks where they're like, it's the new OLED, so that people understand that it's linked in terms of the output of what you get, and not necessarily stick so much to these horrible naming conventions that we use for monitors, where it's like a string of letters and numbers, and the modern manufacturers are just like, well, you'll figure it out.
They
like,
should
really?
they should call it PLED. It's one better than O.
Yeah. But I will say OLED to a person going into a Best Buy, not knowing anything about this stuff and seeing a one TV on one side that's non-OLED and then one TV on the other side, OLED definitely does. The shock value is there, right? For even for micro LED, you're talking about sure resolution and like getting to that same blackness level, but really you're talking about like getting. Like, I don't know if that's going to have the same, like, go into Best Buy and look at a TV and, like, you could differentiate between micro LED and OLED.
Well, so
I don't know.
The micro LED and the OLED, I think, I've never seen a micro LED in person. I will totally go on a field trip with you, Elena, and go see a micro LED in person when I'll see what I can find one in the Bay Area. But my understanding is that you're going to get that same dramatic contrast, right, where the blacks are actually off rather than on, and also. Your people are right though. The people are doing great. Like Panasonic has an OLED TV where they couldn't get the brightness they wanted out of a single OLED panel, so they just jammed 2 panels in one TV, and then it's twice as bright, or like 75%.
Actually,
I like how you're like OLED with your OLED.
Yeah,
actually,
dog.
You know what? Maybe that is the demo in Best Buy to be like, hey, OLED can't get this bright. Look how bright we can get the screen.
Yeah,
I said nobody. I guess though.
I mean, well, the reason people want bright screens is because they have like apparently like I'm gonna put my Gordon hat on for a sec. They're living on their hilltops with their huge plate glass windows, and it's Glare City. They're not doing the decent thing and sitting in their basement in the dark watching TV like normal people,
respectable people do.
Yeah,
which you know what? Maybe that is a selling point. Hopefully, maybe it's just like, oh, you want the brightest display possible, then OLED just can't achieve that. You gotta go micro LED.
I think this is going to happen the way that it happened with plasmas phasing out, though, right? Like once they figure out how to mass produce micro LED at a reasonable cost, I think manufacturers are naturally just going to turn towards that technology and phase out their OLED efforts if it's such a dead end. I think that's how it's going to go. Their biggest hurdle is just going to be being able to convince consumers that it actually is a good change, because a lot of us, I don't know, maybe I'm speaking for too many people, but I feel like a lot of us felt burned by the whole transition from plasma to LED type screens, just in that they kept touting it as better. And in some ways, yes, it was slimmer. It was like a lot less hot, like power consumption was better. But they made it sound like the picture quality was better. And in a lot of ways, if you like those true blacks, it was not. And so I felt betrayed by the marketing. And so I don't trust it anymore. Right. So I think that's basically the biggest hurdle to have to touting an actually new, better alternative when it becomes more feasible. But for now, I'm glad we're living in this OLED world, because I waited 15 years to get to this, from like my CRT plasma life to this. I'm just happy we're living in this world for now.
For sure.
Did you all see the speaking of CRTs?
Yes.
Did you say this isn't a CES thing at all, but it came out right at the end of the year while we were away? Did you see the Blurbusters thing where they have the CRT shader?
Oh yeah, the shader
runs on like 244 hertz and faster panels. It makes your LCD or OLED look like a CRT.
I think I might have read that in front of the show, Wes Fenland's read-only memo.
Yeah,
newsletter.
Nice.
Yeah,
not quite.
Anyway,
one last final monitor thing, since you just brought that up. We had a genre-defying TN monitor at CES, which is not something I thought I would ever say in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Japanese brand called Koruri or something like that.
What'd you call me?
At CES, they're showing off their G7 laptop. It is TN, but they do that so that they can hit world record 750 hertz.
Wow.
Which is absolutely insane and way more than anybody needs. And I definitely would not be willing to accept a TN panel to hit speeds that fast that my graphics card can hit.
Hold on, but just to be clear, the Blurbusters thing said 500 to 750 hertz is the sweet spot. So this is, if you want to play Donkey Kong on a panel that looks like a CRT, this is the best thing you can do. This is it.
Damn.
We should call that in. I want to test that.
Bigger number, better.
Synchronicity, baby.
Yeah, the bigger bar is better, Adam.
Yeah, wow.
It's like we always say here, always be testing. Right?
Always be
Always be
testing.
testing.
Yes.
I mean, but here's the thing too. Like, who outside of children are going to make use of that refreshment? Just saying.
I mean,
My reflexes as an old person is like.
I was about to say, like,
nothing
what does
happened.
children have to do with this? You're throwing
No,
children
like they're
under
just
the bus
because
here.
they're just their reflexes are so much
okay.
faster than
Got it,
ours.
got it.
Oh,
Like-
you can train up. If I put you on a training regimen, we can get you up.
Oh,
we can get you up to
there's
this
a new
level.
series.
Going from below the floor to just beneath the surface is still
Look,
not the same.
We can get you to like a grumpy 25-year-old, like a burned out, used up 25-year-old. We can get you there, Elena. No problem.
Jaded,
And that's a trade
on
up.
medication, on sedatives.
Yeah.
Yeah, retiring
we're gonna
at
we're gonna need a
25.
food, training, and drug regimen, but we can make this happen.
Drugs. My boss didn't hear that, right?
It's all nice and legal, okay? We're gonna go to Mexico.
By the way, Willis
Legal in
pulled down the
Mexico.
poll. We had just over 100 votes of who have you ever licked a 9-volt battery? And 80%,
80
so
people.
about 80 people licked
man.
9-volt batteries. Yes, so people
Yeah, of
did
course.
that.
Why?
Yeah. Like everybody did that. Everybody did that. Yeah.
I
Someone
licked
did
the
point out in
battery.
chat,
I
though.
licked the frozen pole, Christmas story style.
What?
I've done the nut
Yeah.
No!
You had to try
milk
it.
challenge. Any of that stuff,
Okay, well, I
man.
don't know
Yeah,
about
it's
that
like,
one.
what? That's weird. Got to go for
Did you
it.
do the cinnamon
I will
thing? That
say-
can kill you, you know?
Oh, yeah, it didn't
Somebody-
kill me, but it's not pleasant.
Yeah.
Somebody in chat said the Asian contingent is in alignment, and it was someone I know in chat who is also Asian. And I think maybe this is just a thing where our parents just put too much fear in us. Like, if you run up a hospital bill for us, you will cease to exist.
I feel like I had asked Gordon this at one time too, and he was like, "No, why would you do that?"
Yeah, no,
Like,
that's-
how did you know if the 9-volt was good or not?
Yeah, if I had had to be hospitalized, my parents would have taken it out of my allowance for sure. Not Asian.
Allowance. Who gets allowance?
Well, I had to mow the fields, and they paid me to mow the fields.
The field.
Have you ever had a freeze dried shrimp not reconstituted? You reading that?
What?
No.
I don't know.
There's your real cinnamon challenge.
Reconstituted.
Like, you take a freeze dried shrimp that's dry,
Okay.
and you put it in your mouth, and it's just like the cinnamon challenge, where it sucks all the moisture out of your mouth, except for instead of getting a cinnamon flavor, you get an intense burst of shrimp and powder. It's horrible.
You know,
I'm gonna have to try
Will, there's
this out.
alternative methods to that are a little more pleasant. Unless, you know what? If you love the shrimp flavor, I don't want to ruin it for you.
Look.
However, there are alternatives to that are more enjoyable.
I'm just saying. It's anyway.
Feels like Will's gonna start a TikTok challenge.
We should. No, I'm not. No, I wouldn't. Anyway.
What else do we see
would-
at CES?
Did you see VLC? VLC was there. Open source magnates, shippers of billions of units of software. The people that let you play any video you want on your computer without any influence from the man.
For
Do you love VLC?
us computer users, we did not see any. No, Willis, did you see
VLC
VLC?
is a computer software.
I know, but
Yes,
I know, no.
It's
I'm
the
so-
most
hold on,
computer software.
Hold on. Let me back that up. For people covering CES and only focusing on computers, they were not in the areas where all the computers were. So I did not see them.
Okay, that's
That makes
fair.
sense.
That's
Wow, I don't know about
They
this.
were there because they added AI, local AI subtitles for video clips. They're rolling that out, which is cool. That's great. That's kind of the way I want to see AI going, honestly. But the reason it got picked up huge is because there was a very viral Blue Sky tweet or whatever you want to call it. I'm never calling it a Blue Sky post. Where
Beep.
somebody was like, after days of grifters and con men at CES, we stumbled upon the booth for VLC. They were all dressed up as wizards and told us, we have nothing to sell. We just decided to show up. I told them I'd been using their software to pirate media for 15 years, and they said, keep doing that. Hell yeah.
You say they were dressed up like wizards. They had wizard hats that were the VLC logo, the orange cone.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh,
Very good.
Wait,
okay, that's
Wait,
cool.
so I have a question.
Was it on the show
if they're
floor?
open
Yeah.
source, how did they get the money to pay for a booth at
Well,
CES?
Elena, thousands of commercial software products and hardware companies use the code that it's developed by VLC, and thus they contribute money to the foundation that runs VLC. Also,
Excellent.
all-
We love this.
We interviewed them on the FOSS pod year before last. John Baptiste, who's the CEO, I think, like the ostensible CEO, I guess. They're kind of they're students. They still behave like students, even though I think they aren't students anymore. But they're characters. They're very good. Yeah.
So I guess they were on the show floor. I only got to the show floor once and
Local subs
ran through it. But
Local subs and maybe translation coming soon, but not in yet.
I
That's the deal.
also did see the HDMI booth.
Oh,
I was like, ooh, HDMI. They've got cables.
were they flogging HDMI 2.2, the latest spec announced by the HDMI?
I did not see a
forum?
big sign. They were just like, ooh, we got cables.
You want to know what's new in HDMI?
You did a whole video on it. I could just go watch the video.
Could watch the video
on Tech Hive.
It doubles bandwidth, basically, is the TLDR. And it adds some stuff that makes synchronizing AV delays easier between an increasingly complicated world where, like, you have a TV and a receiver and a console or a set-top box or something like that. And, like, your receiver may have a game mode, but your TV doesn't. And, like, the mode that the receiver or TV in can change, which increases or decreases the delay between the AV pass-through. So anyway, everything can communicate. It could do that before with the eARC, kind of, but now it can. Now there's actually a communication pathway that sends latency information live on the fly as you're watching stuff back and forth, so that your TV and it's all fine.
You went to the HDMI booth. What'd you think?
Very briefly, there was no like product display whatsoever. There was just a lot of like third-party vendors just there doing like business sales calls.
HDMI, it's in your crap.
Yeah,
That's
it's
their motto.
up in your crap. Get it out of your crap. Let it. Also, DisplayPort had a new spec. I didn't see a DisplayPort booth, but
So they announced 2.1B, I think, because HDMI announced 2.2. You gotta keep up with the other. So DisplayPort, the 2.1B thing that they talked about, I think there's more stuff in 2.1B that's still coming. Again, both of these are announced specs that are just being delivered to vendors to partners later this year. Like they weren't shipping. There's no product.
This is like how the PCIe 7 spec got ratified last year, right? But you're never going to see PCIe 7 for this year.
2.1B is supported by the 5000 series NVIDIA cards. Apparently, the big change is that they've added an active cable version of the spec that gives of the highest spec cables, which are 4 20 gigabit per second channels that are bonded together, which lets you go up to like 10K resolution or something ridiculous that nobody has monitors for. Now those cables were passive before. They could go 1 meter. Now they can go 3 meters.
Ooh, upgrade.
But they're active cables, so they're going to be more expensive.
Elena was so upset she
hates
DisplayPort. She hates
Team
cables.
HDMI for life.
Yeah. Willis, so you were working on the Tech Hive channel.
Yes.
Do you see anything else interesting you want to bring up?
Well, AI, everything.
I've heard about this AI stuff.
In your appliances everywhere.
Everywhere.
Everything.
What
Yeah.
about my rice cooker? Was there an AI rice cooker?
That I didn't see, which I was a little disappointed.
Yeah.
So
I saw an AI toothbrush.
AI
I didn't
toothbrush-
personally see, but I saw the announcement for
Yeah.
an AI toothbrush.
Yeah, I didn't get to test that out either. So, so we went to Aniron, who's also part of Tech Hive. We went to visit multiple booths, but at Samsung, they basically showcased this whole fleet of appliances, home appliances ecosystem that it works with Bixby. You guys remember Bixby?
Oh yeah, Samsung's
Unfortunately.
Samsung's voice agent,
Yeah,
right?
so Bixby's back, by the way.
Oh, we love it. It's like Alexa, but for Samsung.
Know, Bixby never left.
Yeah,
She's
so-
always with us.
Yeah, so basically they demoed.
Got to double tap.
So what was it? AI everywhere, screens everywhere, and then cameras everywhere as well. So what it is there's going to be cameras in your oven, and basically the AI the functionality of it is basically going through. Oh, hey, you put a pizza in your oven. Let me determine whether or hey, we detected that there is a pizza in your oven, and here are 2 ways you can cook it. Like if it's a frozen pizza, here's an option to kind of how to heat it up if it's a frozen pizza, or hey, you made it fresh. Here's another option that you can cook it with as a homemade pizza. So
What if I just don't want to be hassled and just want to set the oven at 550 and turn the fan
char
on?
it.
Well, no, pizza
And you're
should
going
be
to ruin
hot.
your pizza, man.
No, you
need AI to make your pizza better.
Sir, I assure you, I do not.
Do you guys remember the 1999 Disney film Smart House?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like essentially that. It's coming to life.
Does it have Pierce Brosnan's voice? Because I'd buy into that probably.
You should pitch it to Samsung, actually.
Yeah, they can afford that.
I have no idea. I've never seen this. I was too old.
Isn't that the mom
Too old
from?
for
It's Katie Seagal, right?
Katie Seagal, yeah.
Yeah, from a bunch of
Yeah,
stuff.
so essentially you talk to Bixby, and Bixby will like set everything up for you. I was like,
don't
oh,
wanna
hey,
talk to
you're
Bixby.
coming home. Okay, let me
I don't want to.
Are you cooking pizza? Okay, let me heat up the oven, preheat the oven for you and all that stuff. I was like, oh, hey, your laundry is going to be, we noticed you're home, so let me set the timer for when you're about to get the laundry and all that kind of stuff too. And while you're at it, hey, I'm going to also set the robot vacuum to be in the kitchen space so it cleans it up for you and all that kind of stuff.
Did you feel like any of this stuff was going to make your life measurably better, Willis, or is it just going to give you more stuff that you have to manage?
Manage for sure,
Yeah.
but yeah.
I will say Willis had the hard job of seeing probably roughly 1,000 robots vacuums
Yes.
around the show floor, and then having to be like, okay, which one could people actually be interested in? Which one are people going to be searching for? The answer's none. But I mean,
Some.
Okay,
Robot vacuums are awesome, Adam.
yeah,
I
would
know,
like a
especially
robot
the one
vacuum
with the arm
works.
that picks up socks,
Socks
and
yeah,
cat toys.
yeah. Not sneakers, socks.
So, okay, robots that I would love to have. I would love to have a robot that will fold my laundry for me. Did you see anything like that?
No, but only to pick up your sock, really.
It'll pick up your laundry and
Pick
then
up
put
your
it
laundry.
No, I
someplace
wanna-
really bad.
I want to take a big hamper full of clean clothes out of the dryer, and I want to dump it down on a thing, and I want some creepy robot arms to hold it up and be like, "Oh yeah, this looks like underpants," and then fold it the right way,
Looks like
and put it
underpants.
down and
I
jam
wanted,
it in the drawer.
I wanted to alert that too. Just say it out loud. Ooh, this looks like underpants.
I mean, in reality, what it's going to do is hold up like
And it
three
says
socks
that same
stuck
thing
together,
for
and be
every-
like, "Oh, this looks like underpants," and then it's going to ruin your clothes. So I don't know, man.
I did also see an AI laundry washer and dryer unit as well.
Okay.
So what they do is, so the demo was that you put in a basket of laundry. So and it's basically it reads how heavy the laundry load is, and then also it detects like certain garment as well. So it's like, hey, you have a jeans in it, and the
Hey, this
color-
looks like underpants.
yeah, and the jeans might, the color might wear off, and it basically gives you a warning. It's like, hey, are you sure you want to wash the jean with your other, fabrics and stuff like that?
This is a live demo they did on the floor with water and everything?
It's no, not with that.
Okay.
It's really just the AI feature.
I was going to say, could you bring your own clothes and be like, hey, I got to chuck a load in here?
I was like,
Mind
hey,
if
I need to wash this jacket.
Yeah.
Can you just wash it for me real quick? But no. It was like a pre, like demoed.
Yeah, I love a good live demo, but I don't know about that one.
My dumb, quote unquote, dumb washer and dryer already has sensors in it that can tell me a lot about
So
stuff.
Yeah, mine do the weight.
Yeah, but can it say, "Ooh, this looks like underpants"?
Look,
I would pay for a new washer and dryer to tell me that.
but look, my washer and dryer, we ponied up for the smart ones because our laundry's in the garage, and now I get an alert on my phone, and also the Google Home in my house is like, hey, I just wanted to let you know the dryer's done and these clothes inside me are too damn hot. Because I could write my own notification.
Okay, I was about to say, I was like, that's oddly specific.
Look, this is the power of Home
Oh,
Assistant.
no, it's the
Adam.
power of Bixby.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Bixby doesn't. Bixby's like, this is an LG dryer, so I can't communicate
Ooh,
with it.
Life is good.
But yeah, like that is really nice. The rest of it, I've never used once.
Great. Elena, you see anything from the confines of your home that you were like, ooh, CES?
So when I was catching up, where is this? I was looking at the best of list. So I'm completely cribbing from my colleagues' excellent work here. But I will say one of the things, where did it go? So besides the mini PCs, the other thing that caught my eye was kind of more of a smart home type thing as opposed to PC hardware.
Powered by
And
Bixby?
it was no, it was the smart indoor garden. Like this looks so
Oh.
wildly futuristic.
Is it from LG?
No, it's called Plantiform. Smart.
There was a couple of them this year,
Indoor garden.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw a few as well. So we'll have some videos out on our Tech Hype channel. So please go and subscribe. Yeah, if you like smart home products.
Yeah.
Plug.
I agree with Elena. That was actually, to me, one of the coolest parts of what I saw at CES. Like, obviously, I focus on PC hardware. I'm the executive editor for PCWorld. But going through everything, there were several different vendors who were trying to figure out a way to, hey, how can you have, like, live plants as, like, sitting next to you with the light and stuff like that. And I really dig the whole bring the outdoors inside kind of vibe. So I thought that was cool.
64
AI.
cents.
They use
64
AI
cents
to
per
make it so... you know when you can water it and stuff like that, which is a bit much. But
64 cents per kilowatt hour. I'm not putting any grow lights in my office. It's gonna stay nice and dark in there.
You need grow lights, man.
Well, what are
for
you
your other stuff?
Are you growing plants or are
So
you growing
Will
plants?
just has
Look,
cacti.
it's all nice and legal, okay?
It is. It is.
Can we shout out the bird feeders? The
Oh,
bird
yeah.
feeders with the cameras is my favorite goofy thing.
Yes, at Wonder. Or
There's
Bird
a bunch
Buddy.
of them. There
was a bunch of them.
Birdify,
Yeah.
Birdnado.
Yeah.
There's like bird puns left and right.
Nature.
You better hurry and trademark that.
The best one I saw was the hold on. It's the Birdify 2 Duo.
It's already a thing.
Birdify 2 Duo. It has like a camera that the bird faces, and then it also has one off to the side, so you get profile and side view, straight on shots, which is nice.
Great.
And they do hummingbird feeders too, which I like.
Great.
Yeah. They're kind of expensive,
Yeah.
but they have solar panels, so they'll work
Ooh.
without having to run electricity out to the birds, which is nice.
Fancy.
Yeah.
PC aside, Adam, did you get some time to go to the show floor or even the expo to take a look at some
So
that they have?
yeah, I went to the Las Vegas Convention Center once, which was probably maybe the second only time I've ever been there during a CES. But I just ran through really quickly. So we went to an appointment, and then we ran through, and the only thing I really stopped to see was that new Atari handheld. Yeah. Whatever.
Impressive.
And
Did
then
you sniff it? It was because you sniffed it. You're like, no, this is not the right.
it wasn't worth a sniff.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry, that was my review. And I did
Spoiler.
at the very last day. I usually try to make a point to do a round trip around the floor at the Venetian Expo. So I did that. But yeah, the only thing I saw that was notable was like, ooh, at home sperm count tests. It's like, okay, they had a whole booth
Yes.
just so you can buy that.
You know what though? Like
I was curious.
Real talk though, like IVF
Yeah.
is really expensive.
Mm.
Like all that stuff that goes into couples who are trying to have kids and like need the medical intervention stuff. So like I think that's a great thing to hear that they're trying to find like stuff that you can do at home that possibly is a little bit cheaper to kind of help bring down some of those costs. Because like some people are lucky enough to have health insurance in the United States that helps with that kind of stuff, but not everyone does, and so it can be astronomically expensive for couples who really want to conceive that way.
Having walked this path, when there's also distance limits and accessibility for that stuff, so you have to if you want to provide your sample in a pleasant home environment, you have to live within about 25 or 30 minutes of the medical facility, or you get to go to it's really coated in
Your
plastic.
face. I'm only laughing because the face
room
he's
is
making.
coated in plastic. Okay, it's
As long as you don't
ever turn a black light on in there.
As long as you don't show any
lot
like
of
finger
pressure.
measurements, anything like that,
no
we're
fingers,
good. We're
no
good.
fingers.
Yeah, keep your hands where I can see them. Keep your fingers
But
like
yeah,
that.
like look, that room's not, it's not a, it's what is it? This
Oh,
is
it's
not a
worse
place
than
of
going
honor.
to a hotel room with a black light.
Eh.
Look, Elena, if I turn on a black light in that room, it would have glowed like the surface of the sun. It was.
Oh, so it's got micro LED technology.
I'm gonna go and tell you, I walked in there and I looked around and I was like, I don't want to touch anything in here.
Okay.
So anyway,
that was the
CES.
CES. Yeah, cool. Go read over PC World. Watch the videos. We got a lot of stuff. Exciting stuff. There's still stuff going on. A lot of content coming out. At least through the end of the week on the YouTube site or on the YouTube channel. Anything on the site, Brad, that we should be looking forward to for CES?
We're still doing a lot of our wrap-up coverage. So trend pieces, people talk about the cool, weird stuff they saw. Because, obviously the focus was on monitors and CPUs and GPUs. Like, that's what we're there to cover a lot of that stuff. But now people are starting to trickle out thought pieces and some of the cooler, weirder stuff.
That's tall Lenovo. Did you see this tall Lenovo with
did.
the fold-out screen?
Yeah. And that was not a demo. That is a releasing
That's a real
product.
thing they're going to sell.
Yeah,
That's exciting.
Yeah. I will say to put a little cherry on top of the CES stuff. Willis will be proud to know I ate 0 floor candy,
What?
but I did get some
Oh.
free thumbsticks. So, but these free ones now are terminated
Oh, no.
USB-C. I was like, ooh, upgraded free thumbstick.
So you can install viruses and
yeah,
stuff faster.
I've got it in my bag right here.
Oh, great. Let me just plug that in your computer right
No,
now.
Yeah, just put that right on the network.
Look, if they were
you know what? Our
on
network
connected PC.
couldn't get any worse.
I'm still on my hotspot, so I don't know. I'm serious.
I don't know. Are you taking that as a challenge?
yeah.
well, here's where I draw the line. If they were given to you by trusted vendor, sure. If you picked it off of the floor, then I was like, no. Right?
If it was at a booth, not given to me, and I was just like, ooh, walking by, I'm like, ooh, like a free USB.
Oh dear.
It was on a lanyard. You get a free lanyard too. It's okay. Anyway, let's get over to some Q&A before we need to get out of here because we are going a little long. Before we do, I want to thank our sponsor, Silverstone. If you're still watching, Silverstone has got the Alta D2. We got one.
It's
over.
It is. You can fit a lot of computer in that case.
You can fit many computers in that case. It's got you could buy wheels for that case. When I thought about this case, I was upset that Gordon did not unfortunately get his hands on this case because this is definitely a Gordon kind of case. It's not only that, Brad Shoemaker. We need to get Brad in here too because I feel like Brad is going to want to switch over.
He's going to go home with it, but like he'll have to get a small. It's a pretty big case. There's a reason it has casters.
But is it? Yeah. No, it's. Super cool case. Check it out. Even Steve over at Gamers Nexus did a video at Computex looking at it, singing its praises. It is highly configurable.
I love that it has these modules. It has these big modules that are like each the size of 2 or 3 5.25 inch bays. You can pull them in. You can put like power supply in there.
Multiple power supplies, drive bays, fit up to 360 millimeter AIOs. We put a Threadripper system in there. Yep. It's got PCIe slots up the wazoo. Like super, it is a lot of case. You want to do something with the case? Yeah. That is a.
If you're not sure what you want to do with the case, but you think you want to do stuff in the future, that's the case for you.
Yeah, Alta D1, right? Yeah, Alta D1. Yeah. Go check it out. Build your next rig in a Silverstone case. Maybe that one. Anyway, Q&A. If you got your questions right now at the Full Nerd Podcast in the chat, so hopefully we can see them a little easier. If you're watching or listening to this later, there's a link in the description over to our Discord. Some people are like, well, I don't see the link. It says, join the PC-related discussions and ask us questions on Discord. And there's a link right in the description. There's a channel over there that's called Full Nerd Questions. You can get them in, hopefully read it on a show. Let me get to a couple interesting ones here. From friend of the show, Ziv Zoolander asked us the most important CES question. Did you get to try the Neko Jita Fufu?
Fufu, yes.
Yeah, he linked to a little video. I did not.
I slacked you guys some photos as well. So
you got to see that.
I got to see it. So basically, it is a mini device that is in shape of a very cute cat, and basically it hangs on your cup. And it just basically it has an internal fan that just blows your hot drink and basically tries to cool down. Yeah. So fufu is basically like the sound. Just,
Do you need a cute little cat hanging on the side of your mug, cooling your tea or coffee? Yeah. Look really cute.
Yeah, so I think it go.
I did not see it. So you saw it in person?
I saw it in Unveil. Yes, so I did see it in person. Yeah, so it was really cute, really nice. Yeah.
I think Willis won CES then. Because I did not get to see that, unfortunately. Here we go. Pixel inflation. I'm going to hold this one. Friend of the show, Mother Sparkles asks, how does video encode look for 2025? The 5090 has 3 encoders and 2 decoders. What about the 50 series mobile? What about Radeon 9000 series? Do I even need 3 encoders? And when I found out that the new 5090 has 3 encoders. Are you excited?
Are you excited for 3 encoders? I'm going to get a 5090 to put into my mini PC so that I can do 3 hardware encoded Plex streams with like H.265 or AV1.
Oh, is that a use case for it?
I mean,
good.
If I wanted to spend $2,000 to help people who aren't me, I don't ever watch 3 things on my Plex server at a time, so it doesn't really come up that often. But just in case, I'm ready.
Do people need 3 encoders? No.
Yeah. Well. Hold on.
Do you want?
You kind of do need 3 encoders these days because if you're doing streams like since Twitch now allows their partners to stream to YouTube and other platforms, a lot of people are multi-streaming to YouTube and Twitch and other places at the same time. And
TikTok,
OnlyFans. There's a whole lot of places you can stream to these days, Adam.
Oh, and that's true.
You need an encoder for each of those streams. Even Twitch, if you're doing their multi-stream thing,
you're streaming
AV1, you're streaming 1080p,
H.265,
and then you're streaming 2 or 3 smaller resolutions for mobile and set tops and stuff like that. So like
I was floored. I mean, and it's the newer generation encoder. I don't know. Hey, ask me anything about the new encoders, like the quality.
Hey, how's the quality on those new encoders? Is it pretty good?
I don't know. I can't talk about it.
Well, hold on. That's two different things. Do you not know, or can you not talk
Both.
about it? Fantastic.
Fantastic. All right. Friend of the show, Pixelflation asks, who's the innovative? I'm going to say it like a British person. An innovative winner for this CES non-AI product. Who do you think innovated the show? Brad? What's the?
I really like that Rise in AI Max Strix Halo part. Like, to me, that thing's just like weird and rad and cool and built for something in a way no other consumer chip has been yet. So to me, that's the one that opens my eyes.
Yeah, so weird that I feel like people aren't really talking about it and giving it its due. Like, I feel like there's certain niches that are given its due, but like, I really want to get my hands on to just see how it is.
They did not talk about it in a way that would have made me excited about it if I hadn't been talking to Brad and knew what was going on.
Okay.
Like, they talked about it as if it's a new workstation CPU, APU, and not like it's some weird hybrid thing that nobody's really dealt with before.
So cool.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's thinking of the loading up a memory and using it for AI stuff, but like that ROG Z tablet, I haven't seen the configurations, but having that chip in there with just a normal, maybe a little bit more extra memory, like, I'm really curious to see how that thing handles. Like, that thing's just cool as heck.
Nice. Elena, anything you would call innovative?
I don't really feel like I have a good enough grasp on all of the show still, but I think my cop-out answer would be to be like +1 Brad.
Okay, no, that's easy. I will +1 that one. Anything innovative?
So there was another innovative.
Sorry, I'm just
solid state airflow from Ventiva, I think the Ice 9.
Yeah.
It's another proof of concept thing. So who knows if we're going to actually see a lot of design wins or whatever. But like, I'm always excited about cooler, quiet ways to move air through computers. That sounds good.
Yeah, I actually did chat with the folks. I'm going to follow up. They're actually here, based in Fremont, so
cool.
I'm hoping to connect with them. And I do have an interview with Travis North, the thermal engineer over at Dell. He's been there for many years. Gordon actually interviewed him a couple of years ago. We have a series of like interviews.
Those are cool videos.
Yeah, right. No, and he's a cool dude.
Thermal engineer is a cool guy.
There you go. I'm sure he likes that. No, listen. There was at one point where Travis and I'm sorry, I can't remember the gentleman from Ventiva were like, they're both thermal engineers and they both were like trading jabs and making jokes about thermal stuff, and I was like,
they were rapping.
Is this? No. They were like, but actually, technically, it's and they were like, oh no, but sorry, that's my.
Are you Charlie Brown voicing the engineers?
Yes, and they were like riffing off each other, making jokes, and it was completely going over my head. But I was also just like, oh no, is this what I sound like to my friends when we're joking about?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, outrage ponies and stuff like that. Yeah, it was fun. It was endearing. Obviously, big into thermal engineering, and one of the big things, I mean, there are a lot of questions around the Ventiva stuff that I definitely want to ask. Is still a proof of concept, but I do feel like the fact that Dell and Intel were both there with that proof of concept, putting their name on it, means something. When you're one of the largest manufacturers of computers in the world, and you're willing to go out and say, hey, yes, we have a proof of concept, and put your name on it, even if it never comes to market, that is at least some sort of vote of confidence. Validation, yeah. Right? And so, yeah, super cool stuff. I definitely want to follow up on that. I don't quite call that innovative yet. I mean, innovative in the form of, hey, cool, that's awesome. I love that people are thinking of new ways to get rid of tiny little fans. But yeah, I still feel like it's a little more TBD than some other stuff out there, like Furore. But yeah.
I speaking of innovative in the AMD and Dell, innovative.
I accidentally said aluminium in one of my videos recently, and people were like, "Yeah, he said it the right way," and I was like, "I was actually just making a joke." But
wow. Well, what I was gonna say is AMD and Dell announced that they have like a full AMD stack with Dell, which I think is the first time that's happened, right, Brad? Like for business stuff. Like that's a surprisingly big deal. We've gone from nobody ever gets fired for buying Intel to hey, why don't check out our entire line of corporate. That's probably the biggest thing that I saw out of CES.
Not only that, Razer, their new Razer Blade series has switched to AMD
too, yeah.
And I was just like, wow, okay, that is definitely the tide turning. I will say I did get my hands on that. We stopped by the Razer booth. I was like mopping up right at the end. Stopped by the Razer booth for like 15 minutes and was like, sorry to barge in, show me some cool stuff. And that new Razer Blade redesign, it was much thinner and much lighter. And I was like, wow, okay, that's pretty awesome.
To me, it's always about the noise with them. They've always been a little louder than I like.
It's hard to tell at trade shows, yeah. So I can't comment on that, but yeah. The other innovative thing I would say is that
so much.
I know, I'm sorry. Creative, they were back at CES for the first time since 2020.
Okay.
Really cool to stop by the booth and see them. They did not give me a demo of their new X-MEMS earbuds because at a trade show, oh hey, stick these in your ears.
No, thank you.
Next, stick these in your ears. So they actually sent us home with a pair to evaluate. So I actually did listen to their Irvana Ace Mimi, which have the X-MEMS in there, and I was like, oh. As an audio guy, I was like, oh, okay, that is a tangible difference in audio quality with those X-MEMS drivers. Super cool. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I would borrow those and try them out sometime. I'm just gonna jam them.
Yeah. You want to try them out too? Yeah. We'll just jam them in.
Willis can put one in one of his ear. I'll put one in there.
Adam, you like batteries, okay? I'm just saying.
Don't be hating.
It's fine.
Yeah. Anything else innovative?
Okay. I think that's the high stuff for me.
Okay.
I'm excited about the Steam OS coming to other handhelds, but that's not exactly an innovative. That's a hey, thank God it's finally happening.
Yeah, right. I'm curious, to see how soon it comes though. But yeah, we'll see. Willis, anything innovative that you'd like to point out?
Negochito Fufu, that hands down.
Great, love it. Love it. Yeah, okay. I'm trying to see if there's anything else around CES that we can answer right now.
What about that? What about the Ivan R question?
Please go for it.
Ivan R has a question for GPU sensei Brad Charkis. Is FPS still a valid metric of GPU performance? Maybe we should use latency instead. I assume that they mean frame latency, like frame render time.
Yeah, that's what they mean. Honestly, the answer is both. FPS is still a really good indicator because the higher your frame rate, the lower your latency will be. That's just how it works. So it's still, I think, to me, FPS is still the primary thing people should be reporting. If you're really looking for in-depth details about how these things work, latency is also important. I know Gamers Nexus shows latency on a bunch of their reviews. We don't tend to. Adam's doing a lot of them now, but when I was doing them, I would keep track of stuff with frame review and stuff like that, and just mention if latency is weird in any way. But that virtually never happens anymore now that AMD fixed its drivers. It had issues like 5 years ago. So the answer is both. And it's getting harder to measure all of those things because of things like DLSS 4. Like NVIDIA likes to say, oh, okay, we're doing these 3 AI-generated frames for every one, so now you're getting 300 FPS in performance. Whereas that's not really true. You're still getting the same FPS and performance, and they're putting AI-generated frames in between to increase smoothness. So I think there's a lot of questions about just how to even talk about this stuff these days and think about this stuff these days. But the honest answer is FPS is very important. Latency is also very important. I think FPS is still the most crucial metric.
I'm like, how you benchmark these 5 series cards with the emphasis on frame generation, which typically we don't turn on for video card benchmarks because it's not apples to apples. Each vendor has previously, none of the vendors had an implementation. Now everybody has their own implementation, and you're not going to get a game that supports DLSS 4, XeSS 2, and FSR 4 so that you can even compare feature for feature across. It's weird. It's going to be a weird time. It's a weird thing for them to hang their hat on.
Yeah, thanks for handing this off to me, Brad. This is going to be fun. It's going to be
a good
great.
time for it. Have
All right, I think we should wrap it up here. We've been going long. There's a lot of good questions. We'll get to them in next week's show. Speaking of next week's show.
In due time.
Yeah, in due time.
In due time.
Check back next week for your fix of PC Talk here on The Full Nerd. To listen to us on the go, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify,
Don't do it.
Deezer. We still need to check those Deezer stats. Spotify, YouTube Music, anywhere that you can point your RSS reader to. Hopefully we're there. If we're not, Will Smith will get us on there, just like
That's what I do
that
here.
hot Deezer action. If you are on one of those services, please give us a heart, give us a star, give us a thumbs up, whatever you can do. Leave us a review. We appreciate it. Every time you do, I eat another piece of candy off the floor. Yeah. And listen, I need my candy intake to go up. That's what my doctor said. It's just science.
Yeah.
That's math.
That is just math. Bigger candy, better. I want to thank my co-host Brad Charkis for joining me and for feeling better. Thank you.
Saw that hot Deezer action, lifting my spirits.
Love it. Thank you, Elena E, for taking a good vacation, but now you're back to work. Get to work.
On it.
Sweet. Love it. Thank you. And Will, hey, it's great to be back. Thank you for holding down the video efforts on the home base.
At any time.
Appreciate it.
Anytime. I'm glad to do it. And I'm excited about that Peking duck now. That's the next big step.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
full nerd action.
Now we need to do a field trip.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody out there for being awesome. Once again, was super cool at CES, sharing a lot of Gordon memories, a lot of cool stuff. And trying to make plans for what the future looks like. So, yeah, stay tuned. And thank you, Willis Live, for controlling verticals. Oh, I'll say real quick, thank you to our sponsor, Silverstone, for sponsoring this episode.
Thank you.
And thank you for controlling verticals and horizontals. Willis, get us out of here. Get us
right.
out of here.
All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. And once again, Happy New Year. We will see you next time. Bye.
Oh, yeah, and I got my photo with Snoop Dogg.
Oh,
You got a photo with Snoop Dogg?
I did.
you forgot to tell that.
It wasn't really.
Tune in for the next episode.
We found
It's
out.
Full Nerd.
It fooled me at first glance.